amazing?
You can keep that playing.
Do you
by
like that,
all
keep it
means. Yeah. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 100.
100.
Of Nick Tys and Videotape.
Happy birthday, Tys.
Happy birthday, Nick.
Oh, my God. 100 episodes. I'm stopping this. Hang on.
Right. We're 100 episodes in, and we couldn't think of a better way to celebrate our 100th episode than the movie we're going to be talking about tonight.
Amazing.
Because it's been something that we, anyone that listens to us is aware.
And we've been kind of waiting for it all of our lives.
I would say so. Without,
Like, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing that's happened.
Yeah, this is not hyperbole. This is 100%. We, as movie fans who have sat there and have, devoured the Nolan Batman trilogy or the terrible stint of 90s solo movies that we found kind of positives in, even though they might not have been the greatest movies.
Everyone goes, was it really? And you're
finally,
it was good.
Yeah. We've finally gotten to a point where the kinds of movies that we love are just taking over the world, and we have reached the pinnacle of it. Yeah, the culmination of 11 years worth of stuff. So today,
it's all right. Clear it out. Hey, there we go.
Today we're talking about Avengers
Endgame.
And for our 100th episode,
yes,
we will be also having a little bit of a side discussion about how we feel about the MCU on the whole, our favourite moments, our, maybe our underrated films, all that kind of stuff.
All those things.
It's going to be a long one, guys.
It is. Sit back.
Strap in.
Enjoy.
It is Nick Tys and Videotape.
Hi, gang. This is Tys.
And that's Nick. Nick, why don't you tell the people at home where they can find their show if they've just happened to stumble across us on our 100th episode.
Have you stumbled across us? If you have stumbled across us on our 100th episode because you've randomly searched Avengers Endgame into podcasts, welcome. This is Nick Tys and Videotape. We are an Australian-bound... Australian-bound? We live in Australia. We live in Australia.
Yes, we do.
Is that bad?
Well, we're not heading there.
We're
already
not
there.
bound. Yeah, fair deal. We live in Australia. Me and Tyson get together every week and we talk films. We don't necessarily review, but this is the first time that we kind of will be reviewing. Well, not the first time, but
we did something similar for Infinity War.
That's right.
But yeah, we tend to kind of talk about older movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But because this is obviously a big deal for us, we thought we'd, take this opportunity to we'll have a spoiler-free discussion to begin with, and then we'll get right into the heavy spoilers. Pretty quickly off the bat, because there's not really much you can say about this without getting into the nitty-gritty of it.
There's even a hashtag about it, which is hilarious.
Yes, exactly. Thanos still demands your silence.
He does. 100%. At least a month in. But if you have joined us, thank you so much. If you do like what you've listened to, please go, if you feel free, go back and look up a movie that we've reviewed or things that we've done, maybe a top 10 that you like or something like that.
Yeah.
Have a look at our back catalogue of 100 episodes.
100 episodes to choose from.
And have a look and maybe rate, review, star, do all these things, share us around on iTunes, which is the best one. But other than that, you can do it on other podcast forms as well. But other than that, we're on all the social medias, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are on YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah.
You'll find us on any of those.
Any of those.
Any of the popular ones like Stitcher.
TuneIn Radio.
We're not on Spotify, but we're hoping to have that sorted sooner rather than later.
Yep.
Also, Radio Public is a newish podcast platform where just simply by listening, you're actually supporting the podcast producers, which is financially, which is a really great incentive and something that we're really proud to be part of. So you can always jump on to Radio Public and have a listen to us through that.
100%.
Nick, we're going to forego some of our regular segments.
Yeah.
So we would usually, at this point, talk some trailers.
We would.
We're not going to do that.
No.
Later in the show, we would usually talk about what we've watched this week.
That's true.
We've watched one movie this week, multiple times
we
each.
have, yeah.
So that's probably all we're going to talk about. If you do want to get an idea of what our normal show is, delve into the
By all
vault.
means, just head back to last week.
Yeah, even that's it. Last week was the most... No, actually, last week was a special episode as well.
That's true.
If you go to episode 98, it's the most... typical Nick Tys and Videotape episode. A relatively informative discussion of a movie that...
What was 2 weeks ago?
It was Black Hawk Down.
Oh, Black Hawk Down. Maybe don't try that. Try that.
No, do you know what? It's a great example of what we do. We had some good points. We rambled for a bit.
We did, didn't we?
It was a
nice
movie that not many people think about anymore, and that's kind of a lot of our episodes. So that is kind of movies.
But that's what we go for. We go for some things, you know. We're not going to do all things. We'll get to the movies that everyone loves and
Yeah,
enjoys.
of course we will. Now, I think we're at that point where we can't keep delaying stuff
can't.
and saying, "Oh no, we'll get to that once we've really kind of
Set in our
wet
stride.
our whistle."
We have
on
wet
this
our whistle is wet. Tyson.
whistle is
well and
drenched.
truly wet.
We
We're
are
100 episodes
100
in.
episodes.
100 episodes.
Which means I think this next stint of
After this.
episodes, it's going to be all the episodes you want to hear us talk about. They're all the ones that everyone has been requesting, and we've said, yeah, we'll get to that eventually.
We'll get to that.
It's time to start cracking them out.
Yeah. We're going to have some meaty talks in the near future. Do you like
meaty talks.
We're going to get a burger.
We are.
We're going to get some bacon. And we're going to chow down on some really good food.
Yes, exactly.
But
so in the spirit of episode 100, we are going to jump straight to our feature presentation.
Feature press.
And now for our feature presentation.
God, seems like 1,000 years ago. I fought my way out of that cave. Became Iron Man. Realized I loved you. I know I said no more surprises, but I was really hoping to pull off one last one.
The world has changed. None of us can go back. All we can do is our best. And sometimes the best that we can do is to start over.
I saw all these people die. I keep telling everybody they should move on. Some do, but not us.
Even if there's a small chance, we owe this to everyone who's not in this room to try.
We will. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. I like this one.
Tyson.
Nick, I'm exhausted. I don't know about you.
Avengers Endgame. Tyson.
I'm pretty exhausted.
Yeah, well, it was 10 years. 10 years.
11 now.
11
11
yeah,
years.
Good point.
Now, Nick, you've seen this how many times?
I've seen this thrice.
Thrice?
Yeah.
I have seen it twice, so
Twice.
I am proud of that effort, but I am obviously overshadowed by the fact that you have seen it thrice.
That's right.
But it's been a big week of Marvel watching. I've watched probably about 7 or 8 movies in the past, maybe week or so.
Right.
And they have all been Marvel related, just
like
to
it.
kind of get me in the headspace.
Yeah.
I even watched
Fantastic Four. You watch Fantastic
Four? No. None of those. I even did a sneaky rewatch of Infinity War in between my 2 watches of Endgame.
I like it.
It was it was a real interesting experiment to watch Endgame, come home, rewatch
Watch
Infinity War, and then go back to watch Endgame the next day.
I like it.
That was very odd. But Nick, so we want to talk spoiler free for a
Let's
little bit.
talk spoiler free for a second.
So I think the best way to do it is just
initial reactions.
Yeah, just our initial reactions.
All
What
right.
we thought.
Well, Tyson, it's kind of a no-brainer. I of course I love this. It's
Sure.
it's not my bread and butter, but it's what I love to get. You're combining 2 things that I love: superheroes. Before superhero movies were a thing, Well, actually, that's hasn't really been a thing in my lifetime because Superman the movie was my thing. You know.
Yep, absolutely.
So watching that and reading a lot of comics, now it's gotten to a point where these movies are just popular culture. They're just everyone's watching these.
Well, we now
you know,
get to
it's scary.
experience. You know, we've always loved blockbuster cinema. Like that's it's
one of those.
It's
things
unavoidable for people like us, I think, because we felt the magic of movie making in a great part due to the blockbusters of the 90s.
Exactly.
Like, they were
Jurassic
the kind
Park
of
or-
the Jurassic Parks of the world.
Bad Boys, and that was massive.
Armageddon. Sure.
Sure.
And so now it's combined. It's become, comic book movies used to do well, of course.
They did.
But not in the
Not to
same...
this
Like, it was
extent.
very rare that you'd have, in the 90s, that you'd have a comic book movie compete for the top spot, for the top box office spot for the
Exactly,
year.
yeah.
It wasn't really until maybe The Dark Knight, because even Batman Begins didn't really do exceptional business. I think it was
Exactly.
around the top 10 to 15.
I remember because I just watched. I was having breakfast and I rewatched the making of Batman '89, and
Sure.
and because that was the second that came in second.
Batman '89 is a pretty good, clean example of
You know,
an
so it
extremely
made-
successful comic book movie.
Yeah, so everyone kind of stood up, had their backs up, and was like, "Wow, this thing made a ton of money."
Yeah.
You know, maybe we should look into the superheroes, and that kind of escalated from there. And then obviously you get the down with the Schumachers, and then it skyrocketed again, like you said, with the Nolans, and then from then on, it was
It's become it's become a
what's the
very
next?
financially viable. Well, it's really the only surefire thing at the moment is Marvel comic book movies.
what
And
franchise you got? Yeah,
Yeah,
what's
comic
the
book
next?
franchises. Yeah.
But so first impressions, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yep.
I did not feel the 3 hours at all.
No.
But this is coming from you got to remember this is a fanboy talking. We are both fanboys here.
Sure. We are.
but-
We're biased.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely,
it's
absolutely.
impossible
That's what you're
for
gonna
us
get.
to not review.
Don't worry,
with a
we're
certain
gonna
sense of
pick some things that we didn't like.
Yeah,
That's later on. But it could have gone longer for me, Tyson. To be honest, with you.
I
It could have
actually
I could have
agree.
had another 30 minutes in there.
Quite easily, and I think it probably would have benefited from it a little bit.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people's complaints that I've seen is that you feel 3 hours is too long for a movie like this.
Sure.
And I actually think that some of their complaints may have been fixed by it being a little longer.
Right. Yeah.
I think it was 3 hours, but they had so much to do.
And you can't just wrap up what just happened in 3 hours.
No.
Like with a nice little tight little ending. You don't want to do that. You want to, and this is where, like, a lot of people pick shit on the multiple endings of Return of the King, you know. But this is a massive journey. Return of the King was huge. You can't just go and everyone have lived happily ever after.
I love that moment of Return of the King, the kind of
Yeah.
the rest after everything that you've been through to feel that kind of,
Exactly.
and because it actually is important as from a storytelling perspective, because you feel a little bit of the emptiness that Frodo was experiencing as well. That weird kind of like, what do we do now? Which is a similar kind of feeling that I'm having right now. To be
Yeah.
honest, like
What
having
is-
done
gonna-
all these movies, like, what do we do now? What do I do with my life?
What are you going to look forward to now, Tys?
Well, I guess, with Star Wars is ending as well. So it's, we finally came back around and got some Star Wars movies to get excited about, and now they're ending.
I love it.
Everything's ending.
It's going to be a rebirth, you know.
Well,
Come
that's
on.
it. We're going to have to find
gonna
something
have
else
something
soon.
else, something else.
Something has to come through now and change it all up again. But yeah, as far as, first impressions.
First impressions, yeah, Tys, go for it. What do you got?
Well, I think I've explained to you my scenario that I found myself in is that after my first viewing of it, I wasn't sure I loved it as quite a lot at all. Like, I think I was. I felt
You enjoyed it?
I did enjoy it, and I did find I found the 3 hour runtime a complete breeze. That was never an issue with it.
No.
I just found myself a little emotionally empty at the end of it, and it could have just been my brain's way of protecting myself a little bit, perhaps.
Sure. Or dealing with what happens
exactly.
next, yeah.
And because that might sound like really over dramatic, but I do get emotionally attached to characters that I love, and I love these characters, I really do. And so maybe it was like a defense mechanism of some description to say,
Sure.
don't feel too emotionally like downtrodden after this because it's all wrapping up. It wasn't that great a movie, so it's okay. And that was the disappointment. But it was strange. I'll try and put my finger on some of it later.
Yeah.
But so then I went and saw it a second time and felt really differently about it. I got to allow the movie to just be what it is, as opposed to what my expectations were bringing, or maybe what I wanted it to be. And I think I came and saw it from a very different perspective the second time around, and I really, really think it's just a remarkable achievement. And,
right.
I still rate Infinity War as I think
as the successor,
the pinnacle of Marvel's entertainment value. I think what they managed to do in that is just so strong.
Really,
that maybe Endgame comes close to some of that, but isn't able in my mind to kind of knock that off the pedestal for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is like hearing you saying that when you said it off the air, I don't agree, only because they're very, very, very close. But the only reason why Endgame for me is a successor is because Endgame had more elements in it that I like to see in film.
Sure.
So Endgame was a lot darker, I would suggest.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I would disagree, but that's
disagree?
okay.
Yeah. And one of the things I love the most, whatever the movie is, even if it's not a sequel or things like that, moments that link it to other films, which we'll obviously get into later.
Yep.
But yeah, it was, and just at the end there, the epic and just the fulfilling ending. Like it was just...
Yeah. Yeah, look,
it was
and you're
full glass.
Aside from, I think, maybe the darkness statement, which we'll talk about a bit later, but you're not wrong about either of those other 2 points. There's an amazing amount of rewarding longtime fans in Endgame. Like if you, and not in a way that it's like trying to alienate people that aren't super long-time fans.
Exactly.
But it's just, it's a way that you can, it's almost like they're saying thank you to the fans that have been with them for this long, who have stuck it out, who have taken the time to find all the little nugs of stuff that are in the movies, because they are littered with them. And then to have a movie like this that goes, hey, you random guy who thought, you were the only one that noticed this thing that happened. Yeah. Well, you're not. Here's a little thing for you to show you that, we knew what was going on, and we love that you found that too.
Exactly, yeah. So those little moments I love.
Yeah. And you're right, the last act of this is just unbelievable. Just so over the top, and so many moments that you just want to cheer for.
It's just emotional. It's a roller coaster. It's full on.
Yeah. And, I would say not to keep comparing it because
well, it's going to happen.
It's impossible not to.
Part 1, part 2, really.
I think they both can hold up against each other pretty well in that department.
Absolutely.
There's not, as far as scale goes, there is something about Endgame that is just almost incomprehensible. Like your mind just kind of wants to just collapse on itself because there is just so much shit happening.
And that's why I saw it for a third time in IMAX.
Exactly.
Like IMAX style is... Jesus, that's a bit full on.
But they're both equally amazing for what they managed to do within their battle scenes. The way that they can push storytelling forward through battle is really unparalleled, I think. And it's incredible to watch, and it's incredible to see realized on such an epic scale as it is in this.
Totally.
It's great. It's great.
Yep.
I don't know what else we can talk about before we get into spoilers.
I've got nothing. I've literally ran out, so that's the end. The only last thing that I wanted to say in the no spoiler section, is I'm not blinded by the potholes. Plot holes, sorry, not potholes. There's a pothole there. I'm not blinded by the potholes. Obviously in the second watching.
Yep.
It was a little bit more clearer of what was going on. And I was like, oh, okay. I can see what you did there. Obviously, I'm going to get into it later. I can't talk about it now. But, I'm not saying that it was a perfect film. It wasn't a 10 out of 10.
The reason why I think this is partly the reason why I still think Infinity War might be a little bit stronger is I think from purely from a narrative storytelling point of view, I think what Infinity War does is a little bit more focused and a little bit more succinct, and,
Sure.
and it manages to tell a really, really important story very efficiently. Despite, like, it's 2 hours, 40 minutes. But that's what I mean. That 2 hours and 40 minutes felt like time better spent, more efficiently spent than the 3 hours of Endgame. I would have thought, with 3 hours...
I might agree with you there.
I might
agree with you,
that it would be more effective storytelling because they would get the opportunity to do more.
Which is where we kind of would have liked another 30 minutes.
Which is why I actually think, it's almost so messy at points from a narrative point of view that a little bit of extra time just to let things settle and breathe and allow. Because to be honest, less happens in Infinity War. Much less happens.
Correct.
So they had less to work with. But let's say in Infinity War, I would say probably about not even 2/3 of what happens in Endgame happens in Infinity War. And that took 2 hours and 40 minutes. Right. So you should really be, in order to keep at that level and not only tell things really effectively and quite efficiently, but to allow the character stuff to breathe around that, you almost needed a 3.5, 4 hour movie for this because there is so much plot. 4 hours, much plot.
Is anyone seeing a 4 hour movie?
It could have been a trilogy. Imagine that.
Ooh.
Imagine that. They could have done it.
Totally. 100%.
Because we'll get to that because this movie feels like 3 movies, really.
It does, doesn't it?
And I reckon you could make 2 really fucking great movies as well out of this, not just one long, very good, awesome, fun movie.
Yep.
No, it's not always fun, but that's just
right.
I think once we get into the plot kind of stuff, we'll be able to clarify a little bit further.
Right,
but
let's.
So just final thoughts in case anyone is... I don't know why anyone would just tune in to hear the non-spoiler stuff and then go, okay, I'm just going to pause it now.
Just going to pause it now.
Fine.
Well, pause it. Go see the movie.
Pause it and go see it.
Yeah.
Go see it.
Yeah.
I think it's...
Listen to us on the ride home from the cinema while you're kind of going, Jesus, that was intense. That was amazing.
I put my head around this fucking thing.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's do it.
I loved it, man. I really did.
I did too.
All right. There we go. That's a spoiler-free section.
That's episode 100.
100
in the books.
All right.
No, let's go spoiler zone.
Spoiler zone. Okay. Well, hang on a minute. Before we do spoiler zone,
yes,
let's
right.
intercut.
Yeah,
let's intercut here. Tyson.
Yes, Nick.
Oh shit. Wrong page. Hang on. Wait.
Okay.
All right, Tyson. I would like, if it's okay, just off the top of your head, I'd like your most. You're allowed 2.
2. Okay, great.
Most forgettable villain.
Oh, most forgettable Marvel villains.
We're talking about the MCU here, people. We're talking 11 years of villains. Which one do you go, oh, who was that? Oh, that was just a waste of time talking about that.
Okay.
Go on. I've got 2 here.
Now, do they need to be the primary villains in the film?
No, not at all.
Can they be secondary kind of on the periphery?
They can absolutely be secondary, yeah.
All right, so...
They can even be... Because to me... Agent Hill is just a pain in the ass.
Oh, I like Agent Hill. I like everybody, though. Well, I'm no judge of this. I have a soft spot for everybody.
You love everyone. Yeah, Agent Hill's a pain in the ass.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry, that's not one of mine, but keep going.
Okay, well, then I'm going to go with...
Oh, here we go.
It has to be Mechalith.
Magalith.
I don't even know. This is the input he's
exactly
left. The legacy of the Dark Elf.
The Dark Elf.
None of us can pronounce his name properly.
Magalith.
Played by Christopher Eccleston in Thor: The Dark World.
I love Christopher Eccleston.
I think he's great. And I also, as you know, I'm a defender of Thor: The Dark World.
You are? So you come to... Oh, you're a defender of Thor: The Dark World, but you know that he's shit.
It's got nothing to do with him.
Right.
I think that makes that movie better than its reputation stands.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the reasons why people point that out as one of the worst ones is because, yes, the villain is the worst, but I think some of the character stuff around it is some of the strongest stuff that you'll find. I love...
You're talking about other characters.
Yeah, I love the way that Loki and Thor's relationship builds in that movie. I love I love who Jane Foster became in that movie.
Yeah, she was great.
I love the relationship between Thor and his mother in that film.
Which you get a lot more of.
I think it has a lot of good things going for it. The Dark Elf... Mechalith is not one of them. He is very forgettable.
I agree.
Give me one of yours before we move on to my second one.
My one of mine was Mechalith.
Okay, perfect.
My other one was My other one was Whiplash from Iron Man 2. It's
probably gonna be my next choice as well.
But the thing is, though, like Whiplash, when that started off, when you see, oh my God, here the actor escapes me.
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke, thank you.
Yeah.
At the start, when you're getting the intro to Iron Man 2, that's a dark start. That starts off on a foot where you're like, oh shit, this, and he makes the I was about to say the Tesseract. I know nothing of film. No, the arc reactor. He just makes it on a whim in Russia with nothing, and he makes it what looks to be like in 2 days. And you're like, oh, okay,
yeah,
shit.
he smashed it out.
He smashed it out. Yeah, so he could be, a really, really formidable villain. So I was like, this is going to be great. This is a dark, scary guy who comes out, and it was just disappointment as soon as he got to the States. Once he broke out of prison and he got to the States and he partnered with Justin Hammer, who I need to talk about later. No, it was a pass. I was like, you were just boring. Whenever you're on the screen, it's fucking shit, And in the end, when you're thinking about a battle of all battles,
I honestly don't remember how Whiplash is defeated.
There we go.
In Iron Man 2. I have no idea.
I'm not going to tell you because there's no point. It's not going to add anything to the fucking
I remember they're in
conversation.
like a giant terranium
garden. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pass.
What happens to Whiplash?
So War Machine and Iron Man stand at opposite ends, and they put their hand up, which they found out at the party, blows everything up, and they blasted each other in a single beam.
Yep.
And he was in the middle of it, and
the simpler days of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where it was just their laser beams that they all have on their hands now that could have got the job done.
And I love how in Endgame, when it was Iron Man's turn, now that we're in the spoiler section, Iron Man's turn to have a crack at Thanos, he brought every single laser he could fucking possibly think of. Just and it was nothing. I was like, wow, that's intense.
Indeed. Oh, you need to be a bit louder? Okay. I can do that.
Cool. So yeah, my second Tys is Whiplash. I wish he was better. I wish he was better, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There's not many of these movies that I won't stick up for, at least to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Iron Man 2 is one of the harder ones to defend, though.
There are some beautiful moments in Iron Man 2.
There are, and they are fewer than I think in other movies, which is what makes it harder to defend.
Exactly.
But yeah, this is the thing, I'll still watch the hell out of Iron Man 2.
Yeah, man.
And I'll probably come away after 2 hours and be like, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
I'm in a good mood.
Yeah.
I got to watch Tony Stark be Iron Man for 2 hours.
Exactly.
It's never a problem.
Introduction to War Machine.
Oh, that formidable foe, War Machine. No. See, I was like, even just then I was like, it went straight to,
You went straight to Whiplash. Yeah, Rhodes. And Justin Hammer. I love Justin Hammer.
Yeah, of course.
Can't give enough. Do you have a second?
Yeah, I do have a second one. It's not necessarily controversial, but it might be.
Ooh.
It's more middle tier, but it's one that I'm going to highlight because I think the potential was so high and it wasn't realized.
Is it an Iron Man movie?
No.
Oh, okay. Shit,
it's Ultron.
Oh, legit. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because I feel like you were going to get sick of hearing me say this. I am a defender of Ultron, Age of Ultron as well.
I'm massively.
I think
it gets better every watch.
I agree 100%. I think it gets really unfairly shat on.
Yeah, man.
As real bottom tier, and I do not agree at all.
No.
Having said that, Ultron, who I think is an effective villain, could have been something really, really special.
Right.
And this is where you can see the kind of the priorities of Marvel at that point, because that was an interesting point for Marvel, where they were really trying to push a certain kind of they knew what they had and they knew where they were heading, and they didn't quite know how to juggle creative influence and their own agenda just yet.
Yeah.
I think they got to a point maybe 3 or 4 movies later where they were much better at juggling both of those things.
Yep.
This is a movie where I think it's clear that they got in the way of some stuff.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for worse, just in a way that made it sidestep some of the things that I think would have made it up there.
Yeah.
With some of the best. And I think Ultron is a victim of that, because he just didn't get the opportunity to do all the things that I think Joss Whedon wanted to do with him. Having said, like, it's such an interesting idea. The idea of this being with like no awareness of the world, being born directly into it with influence of Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, and the ability to be a force for good, who then takes that power and says, "No, you're all awful. You all just need to be removed from this planet." And I think it's a really interesting idea that didn't quite get there.
I agree.
Having said that, I think
love to
the
see
James
Joss
Spader
Whedon
voice
come.
performance is really interesting. I think he does some really great work, and as a visual effect, it's fucking great.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love he gets bigger throughout the
yeah,
movie.
exactly.
To the point where Tony goes, have you been juicing?
Yeah,
You look like you're
exactly.
juicing."
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to see a Joss Whedon cut of Age of Ultron, and I'm not a huge. I don't like that people shit on it. I love Age of Ultron.
This is what
there
I
was
mean.
a bit.
That's going to be our fucking mantra for the evening. Is that even the shit ones we love? Like
Exactly.
That's
the thing. We love them.
We are.
We're completely biased. There was a little bit of talk after. Did you think that maybe Ultron would rock up somewhere in Endgame? Maybe a little bit of a squiz in Endgame. Maybe he's not completely gone and he's hidden himself in a back channel somewhere on the net.
Interesting.
Because Tony does talk about, well, this is what, Ultron was about, and now our force field around the world is gone. Our shield of armor, around the world is gone.
Yeah. Well, there was, there were so many theories that floated around, and some of them sounded really interesting. Some of them were quite interesting.
Yeah.
And one of them, that I did read was that Ultron would make a reappearance as a good guy, as what Tony intended of him.
Yeah.
But of course, that did not eventuate.
No, it didn't.
We'll return to MCU questionnaires.
In the next break.
In the next break, exactly.
In the next commercial
when you
break.
next hear from our sponsors.
Exactly, which we have done.
Yeah, I was going to say, P.S. if anyone would like to be our sponsor, please contact us, Tys and Videotape at gmail.com.
That's true.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Tyson,
let's get into it.
Let's talk Endgame.
Yeah,
let's start off at the start, Tys.
At the start.
Let's start with an intro of it started with Hawkeye and a barbecue and the effects of what the snap happened on his end.
Yep. I
was almost in tears already. Like at that start. Fuck, that's a meaty punch to the gut to start off.
It was a great way to start it. There was no logo, no anything. It was really strange. I think in the cinema that I saw it in first.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't have this effect the second time. I couldn't speak for everyone else there. But the first time you could feel the room because I was feeling it too. We started? Oh, shit, we started.
Yeah,
it just kind of happened, and I really loved it. It was so clever.
Oh, we're in.
Yeah, it was because you can't... There's no way to manage expectations when people are sitting there in that cinema. So instead, well, let's just fucking do it. Let's just start.
Yeah.
And it was great. It's a great little scene. It's really nice.
And I preferred it to... Because what I really didn't want was previously in Infinity War. And we didn't get that. And I was like... Thank God.
No, but this is it's a nice thing. It's kind of similar to the end credit scene, I guess, of Infinity War, is that we get to see some of the other characters that weren't there and their reaction to the snap. It's the same as Ant-Man and the Wasp, the after credit scene.
Exactly.
So in all these, here's a question for you, and this belongs to another YouTube channel, and I can't claim credit for it at all.
Sure.
The snap happened, and every time we've seen it, it's been daylight, and it's been on different sides of the world. That's it. That's interesting.
You're just going to leave that there?
I'm just going to leave that out there. No one thought about that?
I never thought about that. That's true.
I was the same. I was like, I can't believe I didn't think about that. But that's kind of interesting.
Wow,
isn't
that's
it?
interesting. Yeah, maybe guys, continuity there.
Yeah.
I like that. I also one of the other things that I really love that I didn't realize didn't happen until it was the end was what happened at the end of
Captain Marvel.
Thank you. No. End of Captain Marvel. So the Avengers who have... Nick Fury has buzzed Captain Marvel, and they're waiting for that. Waiting for that reaction to happen. You don't get an introduction to Captain Marvel. This movie has gone, no. If you've seen it, we know what you're up to.
It's really interesting. Yeah,
we don't need to show you. We don't need to introduce her again because the movie is still in the cinema.
No, it's the only way you see the first meeting between Captain Marvel and the Avengers is if you watch the end credit scenes of Captain Marvel, which I think is really interesting.
Perfect.
That first...
I loved it. I was like, don't treat us... Like, don't... waste the 3 hours, even a second, on reintroducing a character that literally just came out 2 months prior.
Well, it was really like
Or
the
a month
first. I think once the Hawkeye stuff was done, which was a very a bit of a gut punch, and it's like obviously I've talked about how I'm a big fan of Hawkeye, and he gets a rough trot.
It was kind of his show a little on Endgame.
Yeah, and I think I was a little underwhelmed with Hawkeye's arc in this.
Mm-hmm.
This is part of the stuff that I'm talking about that I think if you're going to do it,
Yep.
I think you needed more time.
Yeah.
Because you don't get the descent and redemption arc done with a character that we only really see for maybe 30, 40 minutes of screen time in the whole movie.
Yeah.
It's really hard to buy that. And for someone, I think he had a better arc in Ultron.
Yeah.
I love what he does in Ultron. I think, and I really enjoy how he turns up in Civil War as well. That's one of my favorite moments. But I think he is... He can be the heart of the team at times.
Absolutely.
Because he's so relatable. He really is the most, aside now from Ant-Man,
Human.
he's the most human and most vulnerable, probably.
Yeah.
And so you can experience that with him, but I think they just rushed his stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was, and
Like you didn't get, and with everyone getting, so once the snap happens and... so I'll talk about 2 things, and then we're going to come back to Hawkeye.
Okay.
So we get Tony back from space.
yes,
He is malnourished. He's not looking good at all. What Robert Downey Jr. looked like was quite.
yeah. Now that was
confronting. It
CGI,
quite-
surely.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But it was quite
Now,
confronting to look at.
I
I'll go
haven't
for it.
double
Oh, yeah.
checked.
Yeah, yeah.
But he wasn't like that in the trailers, was he?
No, he
they
wasn't.
had him just look normal.
That
in the
didn't look
trailers.
slightly normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a little. Yeah,
Little
but
gaunt.
when he leaned back and you saw how thin he was,
Yeah.
you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, they haven't eaten for 3 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
What was it,
Like
22 days or
22
something?
days, yeah. But yeah, so we go from Tony Stark. I love how he's at his wit's end and almost, picks up where Civil War left off and like, fuck you, Cap, where the fuck were you? What, and even though he doesn't know that Cap was helping in Wakanda
Yeah.
and doing it from the other side. We kind of get that little moment. And then one of a billion favorite moments in this movie, we get, no, that's right. We get the killing of Thanos.
Yeah, so let's talk everything up to the 5 years later.
The 5 years later, yeah.
Because I think it's a really interesting gamble that they took. Because it didn't work for me too well the first time.
Right.
I felt really kind of confused with this first, I'd say, half an hour or so.
Yeah, it was about half an hour, wasn't it? 20
Yeah.
minutes?
Probably, around
About
that.
20 minutes.
I felt very kind of off my axis.
Okay.
Because it didn't feel right what I was watching. Like the rescue of Tony Stark felt rushed.
Yep.
I really liked the conversation with him and
and
Cap.
Cap,
I
yeah.
thought it was wonderful.
Yeah.
The journey to Thanos, it all felt really strange and it felt wrong. And it was like, no, this isn't right. This is not the time to be
because
doing
it was all from Nebula because. And this is coming from, I guess, Nebula kind of, you get to see a lot more of her in this, but I'm not connected to Nebula. I'm not, as a character.
No, I still don't really connect with Nebula as a
if
character.
she would be on the chopping block, I'd kind of be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she obviously
But because
dictates a
it
lot
was
of the journey
coming
there.
from her, she was like, I know where Thanos is. And she
Well,
took the team.
all of it just felt really off-putting. Like I didn't feel like this was the movie that we were meant to be getting.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the 5 years later cue card that it all made sense to me. All of a sudden, I just kind of went, fuck, this is the
This is the prologue.
Yeah, this is basically the prologue to the movie.
Yeah.
This is the empty victory. This is what needed to happen
Yeah.
in order to give this movie stakes, because you forget that they couldn't just spend a whole nother movie trying to defeat Thanos, because we've had that movie.
Yeah.
And doing that again is never going to feel like a satisfying end.
Correct.
So we needed to just get him.
Yeah.
and see that it is completely worthless.
Yeah.
Like, it means
not gonna
they won't
fix
feel...
anything.
Exactly, it doesn't fix anything. They don't feel any satisfaction from that whatsoever. They have well and truly lost. Because if Thanos is still alive, chasing after him, there is always that hope that they can change what has happened.
Yeah.
And so we needed to strip them away to completely nothing. And this was the only way to do it. And I thought it was actually, like, the second time I saw it, and I'll probably make this comment a lot tonight as well.
Yeah.
The second time I saw the first half an hour,
Yep.
so much more enjoyable. So much more enjoyable because you can see the deliberate way that it's placed.
It's placed.
That
100%,
even the
100%.
victories don't feel earned and don't feel right.
Yeah.
Like, even the moments of happiness don't feel right.
Like, they sever his head, and after that, there's no cheering. It's no...
No.
As soon as they get there and they realize that the stones are gone, they're like, he's finished it.
Yeah.
We can't get these people back. We're done.
Yeah. And even the way they presented Thanos as this completely broken individual that wouldn't put up a good fight anyway.
But I loved how they, like, you knew straight off the bat, he's collecting fruit and he's limping.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, fuck, this isn't... Something's happened.
No, but it took away any kind of sense of victory.
Yeah.
By
exactly.
killing him, you just kind of felt sorry for him again. If they somehow managed to make him even more sympathetic, because it was just kind of like,
Legit.
oh, yeah, no, I don't want to kill this pathetic guy now.
It's
like,
not going to do anything.
It's not going to do anything. There's no joy in that. There's no... He's as happy to go as the rest of them now. You can see he's just kind of counting down the days now.
Fair.
He's just kind of like, oh, man, I feel like garbage. Like,
I'm happy with what I've done. And,
exactly. I've done what I've done.
I've done what I've
and
done.
when you go back and you think about how great an arc he had in Infinity War, it really is the continuation of that. It's like, so the guy that gets everything and is completely satisfied and has job well done, sits and watches the sunrise and has a little smile on his face.
Yeah.
He's achieved everything he needs to achieve. He has no fear anymore.
No regrets. He's ticked
regrets.
all the boxes. He knows what he's doing. He's done.
He's happy to go.
Yeah.
And so it's such an empty victory when they murder him, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, yeah.
And even the way Chris Hemsworth delivers what is essentially a joke, because it did get laughs, but it's very sad upon reflection.
It is,
the way he says I went for the head. It's just,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't
you can
get a laugh,
you can feel how worthless he feels at that moment. It was just
he walks.
so great.
As soon as he severs his head, he walks.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it was a victory, he'd be like, fuck you, and just live in it, live in that moment for a minute. But he walks away from it. He's like, great.
100%.
You know, I didn't do anything. Reading a little bit about that scene, they kind of aimed at the end of Infinity War. That was going to be the end of Infinity War, Tyson. So yeah.
Sorry,
They
I was just doing some balance
adjusting.
checking. Yeah.
So yeah. They were going to do the snap, and then they were going to do the killing of Thanos, and then they were going to stop Infinity War. And then 5 years later was going to be the start of Endgame. Obviously, they chose correctly. Well, that's what I think anyway.
Yes,
I don't think it would have worked the other way, like at all. It would have been really weird.
I can see the argument for both
sides. Really?
Yeah,
No.
I think they chose the better option.
Yeah.
But I can see the argument because it just depends how much they wanted people to come out of Infinity War wanting to kill themselves. Like, how close to like complete and utter devastation did they want it? Did they want it to be shock, like the shock value, and people kind of sitting there with their jaw agape, or did you want people literally feeling miserable? And so I can see the argument for both cases. It just depends how brutal they want it to be.
Exactly, because it would have been, now that we've killed him and the stones have gone, we would have talked for, was it a year? It was a year, 2 years.
It was a year.
It was a year. We would have talked for a year about what the fuck are they going to do next.
It is effective because it does. I mean, we've read stuff and we've seen things. We knew that the quantum realm was going to play a part.
Right. They didn't just put Ant-Man and the Wasp in there for no reason.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
but there was a certain amount of kind of like, well, what the fuck is going to happen now? Because there was an assumption that we could get the stones and use the time stone.
Exactly.
To maybe do some time traveling. But the idea that... But it was always with the stones in hand. Like, and say, but we can go back and change things. But without the stones in existence, that makes it really hard to do anything at all. Even if they do go back, they have to, like what ends up happening, obviously, they have to go back very specifically to places now to find the stones. They can't just have the stones with them, travel back in time, snap their own fingers, go, it's all good, we've got our own set of stones. I'm going to use our stones to destroy your stones. We're all good. And then go back.
Exactly.
And so it was a great way to just strip away any little fragments of hope we might have had. And then we get what is essentially like walking through a gravesite for 20 minutes, what the world has become.
I loved it. And this is the darkness that I was talking about. The fact that, and that, I think it's one of, like what I was about to say before, one of my favourite moments is the 5, and then it just held. It just held.
It does take a while, doesn't it?
And let you breathe for a minute. It's like, what are we going to do?
Months?
Years.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And it could it be earlier or could it be later? And it was later.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck, this is, okay, shit. You know, and you just see what the world has turned into. You see the fact that Black Widow is not dealing. You see the fact that Thor is dealing in his own way. Hulk has kind of embraced... I feel like Hulk got ripped off. We'll talk about Hulk later. And then Tony has come to kind of an ease. He's got a brand new life, basically. You know,
it's a really nice mixture of, you know, people who are not handling it well, Cap and Black Widow to an extent, and people that are handling it well. Like Tony is finally happy. Like he's finally managed to find a certain amount of peace and happiness in his life, despite the horrible things that have happened around him. He's managed to find the light in that.
I think Cap was handling it okay. I think Black Widow and Hawkeye weren't handling it well.
No, Hawkeye obviously was on a tear. Cap to me was really interesting because I think he was still trying to find ways to help. But I don't think that was from
he
a
wasn't
point.
In it,
it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't from a good. It wasn't a way that you go, no, it's cool. We can all move on and we'll find our way. We'll do this. It was almost like in desperation. It was like, I need to be doing something.
Yeah.
Like I need to be helpful.
Yeah,
and
in some way.
Yeah. So I think that's his way of coping with it, is to be so Captain America-esque.
Yeah.
You know, but despite probably wanting to just let it all go, or, you know, like he just can't. Whereas Black Widow is clearly broken and feels like she, you know, panicking, stressing out about an earthquake, thinking maybe is this something? What's going on? Do we need to look at about this?
We need to know about it. What's going on?
Exactly.
Yeah. And the fact that she made it was so funny just watching her make a peanut butter sandwich. And just talk about that, I was like, Jesus, this is not good. Like, this is bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we do spend a fair chunk of time in that real sense of sorrow as well, which is really lovely.
Yeah.
Just to let it,
really nice,
just to let it be that way, because there isn't really. I would have liked a little bit more. I would have liked to have seen the effects a little bit more. I think the introduction of Ant-Man is a little sudden.
Yep.
This is one of the times where I think maybe 2 or 3 more minutes.
Yep.
We could have spared it. We've been there for 3 hours.
We
would have happily had another couple of minutes.
Exactly.
Of just allowing that world without hope to exist for a bit longer before, because as soon as Ant-Man comes back, we know.
It's a game. Yeah.
We're like, okay, exactly. We're like, here we go. Game changer.
Yeah.
Time to get things happening.
Yeah.
So just letting it hover for a little bit longer and
longer.
have us actually feel that kind of that sadness and that emptiness, I think would have been really effective.
Yeah. Especially with Hawkeye. I think that was... I would have liked to see a little bit more of him.
No. And also because I think the scene, and I think it's probably the weakest scene in the movie, is the Yakuza battle kind of thing with him and the other samurai guy from Last Samurai. The dialogue's really trash, and maybe it was just because I was reading it as subtitles, so I actually got to really look at the words, and I was like, oh, this is terrible dialogue. This is really awful. I love
that he was literally just ridding the world of evil.
Exactly, he was doing what he could.
No prisoners.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
No retreat, no surrender.
But this is another thing. The scene when Black Widow turns up there. This is when they felt to me like they were in a rush, is because I would have loved it to have gone somewhere else. Yeah. But instead they have to have that whole conversation then and there. And I found it really weird.
Why would you just stand there with tons of bodies around you?
Standing there with all these bodies around them in the rain, talking about, he's like, don't give me hope. And I'm like, dude, you guys got to get out of there. Like,
there's legit, you've just killed a shitload of dudes.
Whole shitload of people.
Not only that, the accuser's coming after you.
I really wanted a conversation between the two of them of like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, well, what do you think I'm doing? I'm doing the only thing I know what to do.
Yeah.
Blah blah. And
this isn't us.
It
This is
just
not
it
what
went.
we
It was
do.
like 3 lines, and then it was like, all right, well,
And we're on. Yeah,
let's go back to Avengers HQ.
Exactly.
And that's where I was like, oh no, I don't think they're going to handle this Hawkeye shit well, and they never really did, unfortunately.
I wanted to see him drinking. I wanted to see him or dealing with it his own way.
Yeah,
well, whatever it be.
He should have
get a little
really-
adult in there.
Exactly, get a little adult. Like, you know what they need? They needed a real grown-up conversation in a dingy Tokyo motel room.
Exactly.
Where he throws a glass of whiskey at the wall at some
Exactly.
point.
And just littered around with fucking crap everywhere around the hotel room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And make it actually seem like Black Widow had to work to get him back.
Yeah.
Because at the moment she just kind of says, hey, I think we can figure this out. And he goes, oh, cool.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, shit, I've killed a lot of dudes, though. Like, a lot of dudes. Is that going to be all right?
Yeah.
She's like, nah, it's cool.
And this is why, like, I wasn't okay with the Hulk I like my Hulk to be the Jekyll and Hyde. I love that.
Yeah.
I understand, having read the comics, that this is what Bruce Banner becomes, that he and the Hulk are one in whatever timeline you're going to read. There are some times when the Hulks and Bruce Banner separate.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't like Scientist Hulk. It was weird.
Yes.
It was weird.
I too missed
he wasn't dealing it in any way. Like,
I think there was an explanation, a way too quick explanation for how it just worked for him.
yeah, I know, right?
And there was never a moment of
Because that was my
conflict.
that was my moment. Like, I wanted to see, like, in Infinity War, where Tony was like, "Dude, where's your guy? What's going on?" Because Hulk did not rock up. There was a reason he didn't.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was like, "Well, Hulk got beaten by Thanos, and I got beaten by Thanos, so we kind of had joined up." I'm like, no, I don't buy that for one fucking moment. That was really weak.
no,
what you
and it
just
also
did.
would have been really cool to see, at the return of Thanos, Hulk's reaction to that.
Yeah.
And maybe
For a second chance to go, okay, dude.
Well,
it
either
is
for a
on.
second chance to beat the shit out of him, or to experience that doubt and fear again.
Right.
And to be like, oh shit, no, I thought we had this handled. I thought he was dead. He's here again. Am I going to have to go through this again?
Yeah.
And maybe the Professor Hulk thing not work out as well as
Exactly.
he hoped.
And then full, like, Banner kind of leaves, kind of disappears into the Hulk, and he becomes Hulk.
Yeah, maybe we lose Banner for a little bit.
Yeah,
Exactly. Because
you know,
he needs to have
needs to
no
go away.
human in him in order to
In order to-
survive
yeah.
what he's about to do.
Exactly.
Look, having said all this, I think we've just ended up kind of drifting into the two characters that I don't think work in the movie.
Just those two?
I think it's
Yeah,
just those
just
two.
those two.
Do we feel like anyone else doesn't really? We'll get to
I
my
wasn't-
boy Thor because he's a mixed bag.
Okay, it's a mixed bag for you. The only other one for me is Nebula. Nebula, because she was a fair chunk of this film.
Yes,
She was the kind of the catalyst of, oh fuck, Thanos knows. You know what I
that
mean?
was chilling. That
knows.
moment, I loved it. I loved it so much.
I loved it, but I needed more from. I don't know. I needed something from Nebula. I think
Nebula's
it's because you know.
Nebula's an interesting character. I think because I forget what she was like in the first Guardians. Like,
Oh yeah, she was pure. evil.
yeah, and it's been a while since I've seen the first Guardians, so I just remember her as kind of the typical alien character who doesn't understand human things.
Yeah.
And
Look, a tree.
Yeah, it's kind of used for that way. Like the way she did the thing, Rhodey, careful on entry, there's an idiot, which is a very funny line, and I thought it was
Yeah.
quite great.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's what I think of her as now.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of the heart of this movie comes from the fact that you've got to really, really remember her redemption story and where she has come from.
So, yeah.
And I think it's funny how you don't often... It's not until after you watch the movie you realize the movies that you should have watched immediately before to give you really good context.
Exactly.
And I think
And Guardians.
I kind
both-
of undersold the importance of the two Guardians
Yeah,
movies.
so did I. 'Cause those
In
are the
relation
two-
to this.
Because before I watched this, 3 weeks from today, I tried to knock out phase 1, 2, and 3. You
Yeah.
saw me do it.
I did.
And Jesus, I gave it a mean shot. And I decided on the two that I would leave out would be both
Right.
Guardians. I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because after Infinity War, knowing that there was very little of that team left,
Exactly. I thought I'd be okay.
I thought I was the same. I kind
Yeah.
of thought, no. It's if anything, they might show up at some point, but it won't be integral to the story we're telling. But Nebula really is. Nebula to a lesser extent, Gamora, because I think they kind of breeze past a little bit of Gamora's and Thanos' relationship because they dealt with that enough during Infinity
done
War.
enough, yeah.
Yeah. So, but the Nebula stuff I think would have benefited from a rewatch, definitely. But having said that, I don't think it's badly written. I don't think it's a bad performance, and I think it works really effectively.
Absolutely.
I think it's just on us. It's on us as viewers to go back and acknowledge where she came from.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very good.
All right.
But I'm sorry, we drifted into negative, and I was disappointed
totally.
we did.
Well, that's
maybe it's a good idea we just get it out of the way with.
That's it. All positive from now on.
Well, then let's talk about Thor for a little bit.
Oh, hang on. Before we do that, let's intercut.
The city is flying. We're fighting an army of robots. And I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense.
Oh, another interjection?
With another interjection. Here we go.
The MCU wrap-up.
Okay. What did we do? We did most forgettable villain.
We did.
Let's do... Shit. You want to do most forgettable film or most underrated villain?
Let's do a positive one.
Let's do a positive.
Let's do most underrated villain.
Underrated villain.
Okay, so
right.
just off the top of my head.
2 more. Go.
This
is hilarious.
Killian. Yeah.
Killian.
Yeah, 100%.
Really?
Yeah.
Legit?
As we've said before, I am a big fan of the underdog.
You are.
And I don't like the hate that Iron Man 3 receives.
Oh, I rate Iron Man 3
because I think it's got a lot of great stuff going on. One of which is Guy Pearce's performance as Killian. Yes, it might have ended up being relatively inconsequential, but I think his performance is outstanding.
Spot on.
And I love what they did with the whole Extremis thing, and they never really carried that through, which I thought was kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
I thought it made for a really interesting villain, and I loved where he came from, and I loved the importance of his arc to Tony's arc.
Yeah.
The way that Tony acknowledges the little people. Because as much as he's always, he came around in the first couple of movies to being the guy that's like, no, it's cool. I'm not selling guns anymore. I'm not blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
He never really acknowledged the people he shat on along the way. And I think it was really important for them to acknowledge just one person. And it obviously represents all the people he fucked over in his time.
Yeah.
But it's a really great example of showing what happens when you don't acknowledge the smaller people, and I think it changed Tony, and it's all because of what Killian represented. I think he's a great villain.
Legit.
Yeah,
people shit on Iron Man 3. Really?
Yeah.
Shane Black. Are you kidding me?
This is anybody that shits on any of these movies. I'll find good things to say about them. That's my problem. I can't acknowledge that any of these movies are not good movies.
Exactly. Well, saying that then with Iron Man 3, my first underrated villain is Trevor Slattery.
Yes,
100%. I have never liked what they did more, because it can't just be hero villain, hero villain, hero villain. No. He was a scapegoat. He was the mask. He was whatever you want to call it, And they made it. It was when the reveal happened, people were like, "What the fuck? What just happened?"
Yeah.
I wasn't. I was like, "That is amazing. What you've done is just pure gold." And not only that, the character himself that Ben Kingsley put forward was just so fucking hilarious.
Oh, absolutely hilarious.
So funny.
I will always stick up for that plot twist because
it was so good.
It's so creative.
Yeah.
Yes, it potentially shits on the legacy of a very important character in the MCU.
Yep.
But you can still do that character.
Yeah.
For all we know, this could be the reason why
he becomes the Mandarin.
Well, not necessarily Trevor Slattery.
He could be.
Trevor. No, but I think
Slattery, yeah.
I don't think he should be. But for all we know, that could be the reason why someone takes the mantle out of the Mandarin.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really great way to do it. If there is somebody else who is a terrorist mastermind, and who has these kind of mystical connection and stuff to the rings, the rings.
Yeah.
If he sees that this person has built a persona, what's to stop someone else from taking over that persona? Like, the world doesn't know that Trevor Slattery was a fake.
No.
Only Iron Man
and a few other people.
Other people know.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it was so clever, and I think
so good.
It's so fucking Shane Black. It's ridiculous. Like. Yeah. And yes, it pissed off a lot of people.
But I love that. I kind of love that it pissed off people as well. I was like, no, it can't be just black and white what you want it to be. It can't be. Sometimes it's good to fuck with what we, as fanboys, as comic people, know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And you're 100% right. Like, who knows? Someone may pick up the Mandarin mantle and take it where it's take it to a next level or whatever it's meant to be.
Well, it
But
just
I
it
loved
just opens doors that I don't think we ever considered could be opened. And why is that a bad thing?
Exactly.
Like, we get all these opportunities for different storytelling. And look, I personally think it's an amazing choice.
Yeah.
I can see why if people don't enjoy it, that's fine. That's totally fine.
Uh-huh.
But I think to call it a problem with the movie, I think is not on the right train of thought. You can disagree with the choice to take a character and maybe lessen its impact, but what it does in the film, similar to what Killian does, I think is very important because it talks about perception and it talks about the illusion of power and all these kind of things that I think what Iron Man 3 is really dealing with. And I think it represents it all really well. Yeah, I love Slattery.
Yeah.
He's so
Travis
funny.
Slattery. Do you have another one?
Yeah, I do.
Most underrated? Go for it.
Obadiah Stane.
Obadiah Stane.
Yeah.
We are literally just talking about all Iron Man.
I know. Well,
yeah.
I was going to say Ronan, but then I was like, yeah.
Oh, Ronan. Yeah.
Because I like Ronan the Accuser a lot as well.
Okay.
But then I was like, you know who, not only does he not get mentioned in favourite villains, he doesn't get mentioned in least favourite villains. He just never gets mentioned. And that's Obadiah.
True. Yeah.
And
Ironmonger.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I love his character.
It's all
Jeff
100%
Bridges,
about his
though.
character.
Like, seriously.
And having Jeff Bridges play a role in this universe, like, we forget that. Jeff Bridges, the fucking dude, was in an MCU movie.
Right? Legit.
Like,
the first one.
The first one. And he's great. And he still gets that great, like, the ever quotable line about the Tony Stark built this
In a cave!
from scraps. I love
From a bunch of scraps!
Yeah, exactly. Which is one of my favourite lines in all of the movies. I love it so much. And yes, his finale is perhaps a little bit disappointing to have just two CGI robots hitting each other on a street.
Exactly.
But it's
fine.
Jeff Bridges, man.
Exactly.
It's Jeff Bridges. And he is so good. So very good.
Yeah.
And really, if there's anything that's slightly disappointing is that the influence of Obadiah Stane has never really been referenced again in the MCU.
Yeah, good point.
And that's disappointing. I think we spent so much time with Tony talking about his father and his dad issues that we looked over his kind of surrogate dad, who was Obadiah, who was with him in the company for so many years.
And pulling the strings without him knowing.
Yeah. And playing the role of a father figure because he was that much older than him. And that's interesting that they've never really kind of, I don't even think in name or anything have they even played reference on him.
And it's so funny how, like, I didn't want to talk too much about him, but because of Tom Hiddleston's performance, they like to drop in Loki. If there's a chance, they'll do it.
Yeah.
Because he's a crowd pleaser.
Sure.
And that's great. I love Loki just as much as the next person.
Yeah.
But come on, there are so many other people that you can maybe make reference to or drop in there.
Yeah,
or do
we got
things like that.
we got an
Do you know
amazing
what I mean?
example of it by having Red Skull turn up in Infinity War.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
a character that we literally have not had the opportunity to see again.
Yeah.
We've always wondered, are they going to turn up again? And that moment becomes so much more effective because it's him.
I think I'm going to change my second.
Oh, what was your second?
My second was Justin Hammer, but that's literally all Iron Man. But the fact that you've said Red Skull, like Red Skull for me, because of the amount of Cap that I've read, he's to let him go like that and to just, we're not going to reference him again.
Sure.
Which is why when he rocked up Infinity, I was like, God damn it, yes, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That it was such another breath of fresh air that I was like, yes, thank God. He was just almost a waste not to use him again.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Because he is that much.
I think
so much a villain that he personifies it with. He is a Red Skull.
Yeah. I think a lot of it might have had to do with Hugo Weaving, to be honest.
Yeah.
Making it very vocal that he didn't want to be involved.
Yeah.
And that just so happened that they were able. I think it might have been him saying, "No, I don't want to borrow it." And then someone in the building went, "Well, what if we just get someone that can impersonate him?"
Yeah.
And they probably rang up Hugo and said, "Hey, can we use
Do
your
you
likeness
mind?"
essentially in a character that you've already played?" Hugo Weaving is not an asshole.
Yeah.
He's he bitches and moans about doing voices in robot movies and stuff like that, but he doesn't actually, you can
As
tell
if
he
he
doesn't
was-
care.
yeah.
He would have clearly just been like, do whatever, man. I'm just not turning up.
Yeah.
So if you,
I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm gonna do some cool play.
I'm gonna do Hamlet again.
Yeah,
but you
exactly.
do your little hero.
But you want
Yeah.
Red Skull? Yeah, it's fine. You go nuts. And they found this Ross Marquette,
I don't know how to say his name. Yeah.
Marquant, who's an exceptional impersonator.
Exactly.
Basically, put the makeup on him, or put the CGI dots on him.
Bang on.
And got him to do his best Hugo Weaving, and now we get to see Red Skull again, which is amazing.
Yeah. So that was my other one.
Yeah, nice.
But Justin Hammer, man, bring him back.
Yeah.
I'm all for Justin.
We love a bit of Justin
I
Hammer.
really do.
We do indeed.
All right.
Should we get to what is essentially Act 2 of this film and talk about the
Time travel.
the time travel elements?
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps.
Because I think this is a point of contentions for a lot of people. That the rules of time travel in this film are perhaps a little
Not clear.
not clear, yeah, or leave a lot to be kind of explained at later dates. If you wanted to pick holes in this movie, this is the act in which you can do it.
Yeah, correct.
Because I think this is where a lot of things could potentially be argued as not super consistent with what we know of time travel rules.
Yep. They do mention it. They do reference Back to the Future.
Yeah.
They do these things. But even after my first watching, in the pub afterwards with my friends, I was still going, so what the fuck happened?
Yeah, exactly.
I was still, and yeah.
And we get this, we kind of get it's one of those situations where the movie tells us what rules we need to just deal with.
Yeah.
And that's fine, and that's usually the best way to do it, is
Yeah.
because time travel is a theoretical concept anyway.
Yep.
So that you can kind of play with those rules. It's something
Yeah.
similar to what we talked about when we were doing our Looper episode, is that if as long as the movie states its own rules cleanly enough
Yep.
and then sticks to them, where you're fair, it's fair game,
Yeah,
pretty much.
Exactly. But there still ends up questions like Thor taking Mjolnir from that timeline. Does that mean that Thor's timeline doesn't have a Mjolnir?
Well, Cap has Mjolnir with him.
Mjolnir.
Shout out to Kat Dennings.
Kat Dennings.
Mjolnir.
I hate that.
Oh, I love it.
Pisses me.
He has it with him when he goes to return the stone.
Exactly.
So we're under the assumption that he takes it straight back and
to that time,
so that
timeline,
Thor in that
and it's
timeline
just like
has it and is able to defeat McKeelith.
Yeah. So things like that, and also in a beautiful the end of the first Avengers, how Tony is trying to leave with the Tesseract, and the other Tony, our Tony, is trying to take it.
Yes.
And Loki up and snaps it, and he's gone.
That's it.
And
so
you're like, well, what the fuck? Hang on.
So we're obviously we're dealing with a situation now where we have alternate realities.
Exactly.
Where we're going to have multiple alternate
and
realities.
thank God for Rick and Morty, I tell you what.
Well, that's it. That's it. We're all a little bit more well versed in
multiverses.
this theory now that we've all watched Rick and Morty.
Exactly.
And I think the conversation between Hulk and the Ancient One it's pretty clear. Like it's not the bit that still kind of confuses me a little bit is that if you travel to the past, it is not, you are not in your past.
Yep.
You are still in your future. That is, your timeline consistently runs forward. It just so happens that as you are running forward, time is jumping to you, not the other way around.
Correct.
Which then kind of changes a lot of things, like obviously the Back to the Future rules, which is the grandfather paradox.
Exactly.
Which is the whatever you do in the past ends up changing the future, and then does that mean that because the paradox itself is that if you go back to the past and kill your grandfather, you cease to exist, and so you could never go back and kill your grandfather.
Yeah.
This movie removes that completely.
Yeah.
And says, no, that's not a thing. Your timeline is consistent at all points. Whatever you do in the past that is then in your future, instead of it affecting your own timeline, it creates new timelines. So we now get a situation where potentially, yes, Cap could go back to the exact second and replace it. But I think Cap's very existence at that second would mean that timelines would have to be somewhat askew anyway.
Exactly.
Like, so I think it presents us with conversations that we could potentially go around in circles and destroy our brain.
With red string and all that shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Red string
So there's
on
no
a
point.
fucking
And that's
cork
why
board.
after the first watch, I kind of felt okay. I was like, no, I kind of got a grasp of it. Let's just keep continuing, because if you think about it too much, you're just going to go around and around in circles until, you're not.
Which
you're
I
not
think
paying
was
attention.
my problem with my first watch, is
Right.
that I got really caught up
in the time travel.
in the time
section.
travel mechanics.
Yeah.
And I was trying really hard to follow what was happening.
Exactly.
And it unfortunately took away from
What was happening.
And
Because when that happens, you're getting really nice moments of the film, such as Cap versus younger Cap.
Cap versus Cap is an incredible moment
Like,
in the
it's
film.
such a great
It's so
scene.
good, and it's so what's great. And I think the moment that they showed Loki transform into Cap and then back to Loki
Yeah.
was maybe a little bit.
You didn't need it?
You didn't need it.
Yeah.
I think him just seeing the other Cap and saying, "I've got eyes on Loki."
Yeah.
We all know that he can transform, and that little moment was maybe a bit kind of on the nose, but at least it brings people up to speed who maybe aren't super versed in what we're
Loki
doing.
does.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that moment itself can't be denied. It's amazing to see him fighting himself.
So good.
It's probably the best, not laugh, but one of the most kind of like heartwarming moments is his reaction to
And
Cap saying, "I could do this all day." And
Yeah.
he's like, "Yes, I know."
I know.
Which is really great, because it's a mantra for that character, and it's something that we all kind of quote as what sums up Captain America. He could do it all day.
Exactly.
He's the little guy that will never quit, and I love that they used it and turned it into a gag. I think it's really funny.
So good. So this is why one of the things, like I said before in our non-spoiler section,
Yep.
going back, the fact that they've all everyone partner up and everyone pick a stone.
Yep.
I was like, this is great. I couldn't think of anything more enjoyable than what's about to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And I couldn't wait to see what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So then from that, we're getting little moments like the attack on New York again. Then you literally get the Avengers shot again.
Which was
so nice to see.
Yeah, but
and then
so strange, because
it wasn't it?
It just illustrated just how far we've come, even just
The
from
look
a
of the
filmmaking perspective, like the cinematography, the color coding,
Yeah.
it
was so green.
It was so different. You
Yeah.
were just like, oh wow, we've come a long way in 7 years.
Yeah.
From even just the way we make these movies now.
So you're getting that moment, but also straight after that, you're getting a moment where Cap enters an elevator with Romlo and Sitwell, and you're like, "Oh my god, you're going to do this again?" Like,
I was so ready for him to say again.
No.
If does anyone want to get out?
Yeah. But what he did was he gave us a beautiful piece of fanboy knowledge.
Yes.
And just gave us a nice little Hail Hydra.
Yes.
And that's just a tick, because after, I think it was around the time of Winter Soldier, in the comics...
it was Civil War 2,
was it Civil War
wasn't it?
2? Right. It was Civil War. So in the comics, it was announced that Cap in the comic has always been a Hydra agent.
Yeah, and a
obviously
lovely little throwback and really, really fun.
But it was so
Pays
nice.
off people that are watching the comics as well.
Yep.
This is obviously another moment of that. No matter what, no matter when they return, unless he goes back to prior to any of that happening, and making sure that nothing changes, there is a timeline now where Cap
is,
or they think Cap is Hydra.
Yeah.
So but maybe he goes back. Maybe he goes back to the moment where the movie Avengers stops, which I found really fun that they kept going in this one, because the movie stops
like, "Oh my God!"
when Loki says, "I don't know about you, but I'd like that drink now." And we got to see the extended version of
I was
that.
like, "Oh my God!"
Like Thor putting on that cool mask onto him that shuts him up because he was just talking too much shit, and he was like, "Can you just shut up?" and stuff like that.
We even get Pierce in there. You get a shot of
Robert Redford
just rocks up.
How great's that?
And you're like, this is gold. We're getting all moments of gold. This is why, because of these sections, in my head, I'm still going, hang on a minute, how does the fucking time travel thing work? What's going on? You know?
Exactly. But like how this is also when, for me, the movie changes its tone incredibly.
Yeah.
And it's a 180 that I am surprised works so well as it does. Because really, we're in no position to have this good a time. We shouldn't be having this much fun. Yet somehow we are, and everybody's okay with it. Everyone's fine with it.
Yep.
And even like a scene that doesn't really get mentioned as much in the reading that I've done is the preparation for that.
Yeah.
Them sitting around
And
having
going-
these chats about. I love when it's Hulk, Black Widow, and is it Cap? And they're lying
they're all
on the
lying
desk.
on the desk. Yeah, how
and
good
she
was
just
that?
goes, "Hey guys, do you realize that
There are 3 Infinity Stones.
if we pick the right time, there's 3 in New York
at one time.
that's the moment. That's it." And it's such a great it's typical of those movies. It's the scene of it's everyone with the books, and it's the eureka moment.
Yeah, and
it
it's
was so
not on a
great.
screen or anything like that. It's not like, oh, the computer has done it for us.
No, exactly.
No, we're all lying down and we're going, well, we've got time.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's it. They
legitly...
could plan this project for 2 years.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how long it takes
No.
because it's time
We've got a
travel.
time machine.
They've got the
So-
time to get it right.
Yeah.
And so you can feel that kind of slowly that easing of the pressure, which led us to this kind of fun that we were allowed to have,
Yeah.
which I thought was really good.
And so that when they let that sit for a bit, but then amp it up because of the Pym particle missing. They're like,
Yes.
okay, we've got one more shot at this, guys.
Well, we get conflict upon conflict. So
Exactly.
we had what was going to be it, and then we have to improvise again. Yeah.
Which was so good.
Which is
It was
great
it was
because
almost like doubling down.
It was a
Yeah.
real double down, and it's perfect that it is Cap and Tony because, not to go back to negatives again, I did feel like that their reunion was rushed.
Yeah.
That
100%. And you get nice dialogue between them in those scenes.
Yeah. It was funny because I really did want. I think Tony just saying, "I don't like this conflict thing. I don't like being like." I don't think that was enough. I think the "Do you trust me?" Yes, I do. I think that was really important.
Yep.
I would have liked to have just maybe gone a slightly longer way to get there. I think we
Exactly.
just kind of took a shortcut to get there a little bit.
Yeah.
Once again, because we have so much movie and we're already at 3 hours.
Exactly.
And for some reason, to me, if you're going to make a 3-hour movie,
3 hours and
make
10
a 3.5.
is not going to make a
Nobody's
difference.
going to care.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody's going to. If you're already sitting down for 3,
Yeah.
fucking let's just do it.
3:10. You know,
Exactly.
come on.
Exactly.
So at that moment, this is probably one part of the movie that I could kind of lift out and do without, was the Cap seeing Peggy.
Yeah.
That was probably one moment that I was like, oh, okay, cool. I understand what you're doing. And that's nice that it's in there. But if you're going to lift anything out so you could have maybe a little bit more Hawkeye, maybe this is the scene.
Yeah. Well, I think I think of it from two different ways. What power would it have been more powerful to not see Peggy until that moment at the end when they're dancing? Would that have been more powerful, or did we need, as an audience, just that little nugget of reminder?
What he would prefer.
Of just to see the conflict in Cap, so that the choice at the end made a little bit more sense. Because I think that's also a point of contention, is that what has Cap chosen to do? Like, is this maybe the first selfish decision Cap's ever made?
Yeah.
And does that dilute him as a character because
Does that
he's
make it okay?
Yeah, like, does one selfish decision, like, he's the character that we believed would never make a selfish decision. Is it even a selfish? I can't say selfish decision. Is it even that? Because like, this is another one of the time travel things. Has he worked it out that the world never loses Cap because he spends just the time when he's frozen anyway with her? Then his other version wakes up and he just disappears again.
Exactly.
And says, okay, cool, Peggy will live out her last remainder.
I like that he picks it up from the 70s. Is that where he would have gone from? So he goes back, and that's why it was there? So he used the time travel.
He just goes to wherever,
takes back
wherever
all the
he likes.
stones, and then goes, I'll pick it
the
up from the
theory I've
70s.
heard is that he goes back, takes all the stones, but keeps the time stone until 2012.
Right.
When Hulk takes the time stone and he rolls up as an old man and goes, he just makes sure he's there.
I'm done.
And just goes, here it is. It's back.
Okay.
And then lives on,
Shit,
and lives on from there. So that there is an existence of about 7
couple of
years,
years where
or
there's
8 years
two
where
caps.
there's 2 caps.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And one of which is just him as a crusty old man watching his younger self do good.
That's a fucking movie right there, I'm telling you.
Old Cap?
Old Cap.
I'd love to see Old Cap. And I'd love to see Old Cap with little side quests. Yeah. And he can still kick a little bit of ass like Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino. Yeah. That's what I want to see.
That's what you want to see?
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Right. That's just the theory I've read. I'm not subscribing to that theory, but that is one that I've read. And it does kind of make sense to a degree.
And then while we're doing this, we get our first casualty.
We do.
Of the film.
We do.
And it, looking back on it now, especially when you watch it for a second or third time, it's a no-brainer. There's a person that has a family and there's a person that doesn't have a family. No,
the decision itself is a no-brainer, but I think I mentioned this prior. It wasn't while we were recording. I was disappointed that this was the choice that they made because I think in this film they really finally, and not that they haven't previously, but I think if there was ever a character that had limitless potential that wasn't fully realized, it was Black Widow.
Yeah.
And they were starting to realize it in this film. We were really starting to see the lengths that she would go to and the damage that she has suffered through
to herself. Yeah.
And just really seeing the nuts and bolts of this person. I think she's great in a lot of the other films. I think she's great in Winter Soldier, especially.
She's so good in Winter Soldier.
But I was really all on board for Black Widow in this film. Yeah. And I think, obviously, it was a deliberate choice because it made it more powerful that she was the one to die. But also, it was kind of diluted because as soon as we knew they were going there, we knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a bit...
But you kind of almost didn't... You didn't. There was a little bit of doubt. Not the first watching.
No. Yeah.
A little bit of doubt. Only because there was that kind of nod... When is Black Widow and Hulk, Banner going to have a future?
Yeah.
Something like that. So maybe there was a little bit of doubt in there, but what they did with it was so well.
Yeah. I think what the movie was trying to make us believe was that by sending the two of them, Hawkeye would be the one to sacrifice himself because of what he had done. But I never believed that for a second. I knew that if that was what they were trying to set up, I was like, no. If
we survive, if things go to plan,
even just the
back.
mantra of this is that we don't judge people on their mistakes.
Exactly.
We don't trade lives, all that kind of stuff. This is important stuff that we've talked about. All of these characters have had
that moment.
Downfalls, have been in positions where they've perhaps not done what they should have done. And we've never made them pay the ultimate sacrifice for that. It's all been about how do we redeem these people? Can we find good in these people? And so, I was always kind of like, well, it's clearly going to be Black Widow because Hawkeye is going to live on and redeem himself for what he's done. And she's going to sacrifice herself to give him that opportunity because they love each other. They're best. They're the truest form of best friends, the two of them. Which I always loved their relationship. I thought it was really good.
It was great.
That it was never ever even inkling of it being romantic. Which I really dug.
No. Which is good. You rarely see that.
Yeah. Here's a question though. So people were aware that Thanos and Gamora went there. Gamora didn't come back. Thanos came back with the stone.
Sure.
Why did nobody put two and two together? That it required the death of somebody. I found that really strange. That I just assumed that Nebula would know, and because there's a point later in the film where she says to Gamora, "Do you want to know what he does to you? Do you want to know what happens?"
That's true. Yeah.
How he and I was like, "Why didn't you fucking tell him, Nebula?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Why didn't you tell him? Someone's going to have to die."
In order for you to get the stone.
Maybe we've got to figure out. Maybe our time travel for the Soul Stone is not prior to Thanos getting it. Maybe we should. Maybe it's after. Maybe we should
straight after, and we steal it.
Maybe we need to take the stones we have to Thanos at that point and find a way to take the Soul Stone from him. Because I found, that was one thing I was always like,
yeah, that's true.
Why has nobody put two and two together on this? And why would you send only two? This is the one place you literally know nothing about other than that it's a mystical place where someone is guarding the Soul Stone. Yep. So let's send two humans. One of them that can aim. Do you know what I mean? Yep. It felt dumb.
It did, didn't it?
But
it's the same as the matchup between Nebula and Rhodey. I was
if
like,
that was ever
why the fuck are you two
who have we got
together?
left? That was
Like,
such a who have we got
why
left?
have you two together? This is weird.
No, because they chose who they needed to go to New York for poignancy.
Exactly.
and
Like,
then
you
they
kidding
were
me?
like, oh shit, what do we get? What
If
do we got left?
anything, shouldn't you, I don't know, send the Hulk to get the Soul Stone?
Nebula had to go. Nebula had to go because Nebula gets to have the basically what is the MacGuffin of the film is her brain.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what propels the story forward because Thanos would have no idea what's going on if it wasn't for Nebula, and once
Yeah.
they're on the same plane of existence, he can tap into
He can tap
to
in.
her
Which I felt,
AI.
Hey, let's bring that up for just 2 seconds. I felt that was a bit of a cop out. Like, that's how he found out. I'm like, are you kidding me? Can we?
It's a convenience of
It's
plot.
really
That's something that they
convenient,
didn't. But it's also something believable that the Avengers wouldn't have thought of.
No, that's true. Yeah.
So while it is convenient for convenience sake, it's also something that I'm reasonably
okay
okay with because it's legitimately something they wouldn't have considered. That her programming would just malfunction if there's two of them in the same plane of existence.
Yeah.
Um,
Really? Shouldn't it have been the Hulk? I feel like Hulk should have gone to the Soul Stone. Maybe he would have been powerful enough, but anyway, that comes up later.
I was hoping for a
yeah.
second that it wasn't so much about trading a soul; it was the intention. So that I thought
sure.
when Hawkeye
That's what I thought it was going
jumped
to be.
and made the sacrifice, but she was still able to save him.
That the Soul
I thought the
Stone
Soul
would've-
Stone would rise up and
That's what
say,
I thought, yeah.
You know, you didn't have to make... someone doesn't have to die here. The simple fact that you were willing to and you went that far to prove that you were willing to is enough for the Soul Stone.
Exactly.
I was like, that's where I was certain that's what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because how many times did they have to fucking keep faking out who was going to jump?
So good.
Um,
I loved every minute of
Yep.
it. Kick, here's another one. Kick Red Skull off the fucking edge.
oh, yeah?
What the fuck are you, what's wrong with both of you? None of you have to jump off. There's a dude right there that I'm pretty sure he stands there.
He's
And
not really a
it doesn't do
sacrifice,
anything.
is he, though? He doesn't demand, like, it doesn't...
Oh, yeah, it has to
doesn't-
be a sacrifice, doesn't it? It has to be
Yeah.
someone that you truly love.
Yeah.
And that was the point.
Maybe that was
Kick him
maybe it was
off.
because they were the only two characters that you could honestly say that they loved each other.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
of the Avengers.
Yeah.
And it's a platonic love, but they do love each other.
Yeah.
And so that it had to be the two of those. But
And what happens to Red Skull now that the stone is gone? Does he still stand there?
I don't know if he just hangs out there. My theory of Red Skull coming back and being part of
tune in next
of
week.
fighting
Really?
didn't work.
Oh.
I would have. When I thought of that one, I was like, "Oh, that's a good one," because we wouldn't have just introduced him for nothing in
I
Infinity
know.
War, and then he just comes and does the same thing.
So after all that, we get back to
Have
our
we missed
time
anything?
zone.
Oh well, I do. Yeah, I do love
What was the other? How did they
Nebula and Rhodey. It's a great scene. It's very funny to see Quill
Oh yeah.
not inside his own head. So we've
And
got
just-
that great scene in
and just
Guardians
knocking
where the
the
music
fuck out.
is pumping and he's having a great
To
time.
start
and
a
then it cuts
Guardians
to him
again, and
just
you're
being
like, It was so good. And both of them just look at each other like,
Yeah.
"Are you being
Yeah,
serious? Oh, wow,
you didn't
this is
tell
gonna
me
be
he was
easy."
an idiot.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
he's an idiot.
And we just knock him out.
But we
Right.
also we get the reintroduction of Thanos,
We
which
do.
is I think is pretty important because I think for a substantial part of this movie we could have assumed that there wouldn't be
No, you thought it was at
necessarily
an end.
a
Yeah.
legitimate villain. That the plot of the movie could have been
To get the
100%
stones.
in time,
Yeah.
in time travel.
Yeah.
And so once Thanos cottons on to what's going on, and fuck, how good is Thanos again in this film? By the way, like,
Yeah.
the
The fact that he's that dialogue of how he looks into what is about to happen and goes, fantastic. Not only do I succeed, I get them, and his lackey goes, and you die, and he's like, yeah, I
Destiny
fulfilled my life.
Yeah, it's
Nothing is wrong with
it's
that.
incredible. Like it really
And
is.
he's so sure of what happens. Then he goes, okay, I now know what I have to do.
Yeah, there's no. That's it. There's
And then
no.
from that, you get the Nebula going, he knows, fuck, he knows.
It's a great moment.
Oh, it was so
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
The only it would have been really interesting to see this film without Thanos. Like that when he was dead, he's just dead.
Wow, you would like a time
No,
travel-
I'm not saying I would prefer it. I'm saying that would make for a really interesting film.
Sure.
But having said that, I'm very happy with the Thanos we did get. I think this younger
This was
Thanos,
a different Thanos, yeah.
he was a little bit different. He was a little bit more arrogant. He was a little bit less he had so much resolve in Infinity War,
Yeah.
and he was so steadfast in his quest. Whereas in this, he was a little bit more erratic, and it was a little bit more dangerous.
Yeah. Like Infinity War, he never ran. He walked, especially when he got to Wakanda and walked through absolutely all of the Avengers to get to Vision.
He was so calm and collected.
He knew what he was doing. He has 4 of the stones.
Yeah.
5, sorry. He has 5 of the stones. And he literally is just waiting for that last one. And he knows what he's doing, and he knows that he's not going to be beaten.
Yeah.
This one, it was a bit different. This one, he was like, because he doesn't have any, and it's there, you're getting a character who has almost fulfilled the goal. He can see his goal, and he's going to jump to it. But I love how, we'll get to it later in the third act, how he gets to Earth and just sits.
Oh,
and
it's an incredible moment.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's he's the MVP of the 2 films combined. I think it's such an incredibly great choice to have him as the villain, and ultimately to have him so well written and so well performed, so many layers, so complicated as a villain.
It was his movie. It was both of his movies.
I would say Infinity War
was his.
definitely. Yeah. This to a lesser extent, but still, I don't think it dilutes him as a character.
Exactly.
What happens in this film? But yeah, and so I think that covers our time travel.
That's the time travel. Yeah, we're just gonna do a little bit more, and then we'll do another segment.
Okay, what do you want to do now?
We're gonna do so they get back. It's the realization that we've lost someone.
Yes.
And then we get the Iron Gauntlet.
Yes.
We get the Tony Stark version.
Yes.
Which a lot of fanboys thought, well, are they going to do this? Is this what's going to happen? And of course it does.
So tell me, what was what was it about this technology that wasn't available to them prior to now?
This is the other plot hole.
Okay.
For me.
Is it, because I
know that they explain it somewhat, but I was still, it wasn't clear enough. I'm like, what?
It's probably not Thanos's. Thanos would never have assumed that anyone on Earth could create the technology to withhold the power of the stones.
Or not even hold one of the Infinity Stones.
But if Tony could create something so powerful as to hold their power, don't you think maybe we could have seen some of that?
We could have done that
the last time around. Like I was really happy to see it. Don't get me wrong; it was very cool, and that's also one of my favorite moments in the film is Rocket, when they put the last stone in, and he just goes, boom, which is fantastic.
It was so good, so good.
Because I think Rocket gets some great little moments. We didn't talk anything about Thor in the time travel. Shit, I was like, there was another part.
Shit, that's right.
And this is a. Let's do the segment before we come back to
let's do that. Yeah, let's do that.
But yeah, so we get the Iron Gauntlet, we get Hulk, which is fucking like.
But
this.
you get the talk about who is going to put it on.
Yeah,
you know.
Oh, it's a great moment. Like, and when it finally becomes,
and he goes, no, you all don't know.
No,
you all have something to lose and move.
It is the best Hulk moment in the film.
In the film, like he finally gets to go. No, who's the most powerful here?
Yeah. Let's not beat around the bush, guys.
You know who it is.
Maybe it's Thor, but not at the moment.
Exactly.
Like me and you, we could have it out, but not at the moment.
No.
None of you got anything on me right now.
Exactly. Yeah. And who, if it's going to take that much gamma radiation, who has taken gamma radiation?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So you get that, and then you get the snap.
It's so good. It's so good.
And you get the effects of what happened. Oh, the repercussions of what happens.
Well, we finally, we get the phone call, and then Ant-Man notices the birds that have suddenly appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And we get that moment of
what
we think we've done it. We actually think we've done it.
Yeah. But let's stop there.
Yeah.
And we'll have a question.
Oh, a question. I'm glad that you prepared all these, Nick, because I vaguely prepared some, but yours are much better.
That's right, man.
Because if we can't protect the Earth, you can be damn well sure we'll avenge it.
Okay, we're gonna take it again to a positive.
Mm-hmm.
I want your best villain. I'm keeping it with the villains. I like the
it's
villains.
all been villains.
Sorry. Only because what are you going to say? Who's your favorite Avenger?
I mean, everyone knows who mine is.
And I own a shield.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my favorite villain.
Who's your favorite villain?
Thanos is 100% one of my favorite villains.
Thanos. Okay,
Yeah.
shit.
I would say he's probably my favorite villain. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Favorite villain, just hands down.
Hands down.
Thanos. All right.
Yeah. What have you got?
I'm going to take it right back down. I'm going to take it to the Vulture.
Holy shit.
I'm going to take the Vulture because
Cool. He was actually, that would have been a great choice for underrated. I should have.
Fucking awesome villain. He was great. Why?
He was so
because
great.
he wasn't there to take over the world. He was there to make a bit of cash.
Yeah.
And if you're going to stop him, then okay, cool.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to hurt you. You know, he was that almost thug-like villain.
Yeah,
he wasn't
it was
there
very
to,
street level.
It wasn't
great.
a blue light hitting,
Yeah.
coming out of the atmosphere. You know,
And it's Michael Keaton, of course, who we love.
Dude.
Yeah, extremely strong character. I think
Yeah.
the reasons why I love Thanos, I think, you know, obviously we've talked about it a bunch of times,
he's
but
multi-layered.
he speaks to me on like as a on a level that, as far as character, you know, what's the word I'm thinking of?
Development.
Not just development, but you can dig into Thanos for hours, and you will find, if you want to go digging,
Oh
you
yeah,
will
man, you
find.
could write a thesis.
Yeah,
on Thanos.
and there is just so much there, and I love talking about him.
the
so
thesis
that's
of Thanos.
Yeah.
Have you got another
I'd
one?
read that.
Another special mention?
Definitely. My other favorite villain would be. Let me
Have a think while you
Yeah,
think.
you do yours, and I'll have a think.
My other one is Zemo.
Oh, Zemo.
Zemo,
Good choice, man.
100%. So Zemo, the reason why is, and in my rewatching recently, he is there to watch. He's everything taken away. He doesn't have anything left. He is there he doesn't want to rule the world. He wants to watch the world burn. He's like, no, that's cool. You've done what you've done to me, and not only that, it takes it to a darker place. Whereas once he's done his thing, he doesn't see the repercussions. He doesn't know what's going to happen. He lets it live, and then he goes off to off himself. He's like, no, I'm done. I'll see you later. And then, you know, Black Panther comes in and goes, yeah, we're not done with you yet, dude. You know.
Yeah, I love
and
Zemo.
I love that. You know, Zemo is so good.
He is another. He's the other one.
From the small things of him going, like he tries to find out. His goal is to find out what happened on February 16th, 1991.
Yeah.
You know, that's what he's there to find out. And he's trying to, through all these different means, and finds the only way to do it is through the Red Book with Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
You know, so he finds that out and goes, okay, well, now I know how I'm going to get it. But in order to get that, I have to put these things in play to have that plan to come into fruition, so I can find out from him what I need to know. That's a massive plan, man.
Yeah.
That is so good. So good.
Yeah,
So
yet another
meaty.
character that it's not so much about just like beating the shit out of people.
No.
It's about what else it carries, and how devastating someone can be with just simple actions like exposing truths, for
Yeah,
instance.
yeah.
And he's
Zemo,
amazing.
man.
I love him.
I love him. Daniel Bruhl.
Daniel Brühl, yeah, great choice. Look, I mean, this is the obvious choice. I'm picking the two obvious choices, but my other choice will be Loki.
Loki.
Yeah, a character who has the typical, not necessarily typical, but something that I do love, which is the villain redemption arc.
Sure.
I'm always a big fan of that.
Yeah.
And he's always kind of stayed just this side of it. But there's a beautiful moment that I think encapsulates it all at the beginning of Infinity War, where
Oh, yeah.
where he's kind of trying to bullshit Thanos into giving him, letting him get away, and so he can get close enough to stab him. And he looks at Thor when he's describing himself. He's like, Loki, the king of the tricksters, the blah, 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 blah. And he looks at Thor and he says, Odin's son. And it's the first time that he's fully acknowledged that he was his father as well. And I think it's just a beautiful moment, and really kind of shows just the journey that Loki has been on across these
that's so
movies.
true.
And
And what an ending, man. Shit. Like, that was such a good way to kind of... No. He's done.
yeah.
He's done.
Well, except we get him back now.
We
know,
do.
We know.
We have
We
two
now know
sets.
that we're going to get alternate reality Loki, and he'll figure it out.
He'll figure it out.
But he's just, ever since he turned up in the first Thor, he was great, and it was an odd choice, I think, to make him the villain of the first Avengers. I think it might have seemed like a slightly underwhelming choice, but he was so effective.
Oh, that first... I remember that one moment that we all were fans of Loki, and it was that... For me, it was that monologue.
Yes.
that tell me, and you were like, gee, this is intense.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it was so good.
Absolutely.
So good.
But yeah, so that's
Nice
it.
one. I like it.
All right, let's move
All right.
on to the third act.
Loki is beyond reason, but he is of Asgard. And he is my brother.
He killed 80 people in 2 days.
He's adopted.
But let's just rewind just a touch because we do have a time stone. Thor.
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about what because Thor had a bit of a change in this film.
He did.
And
I
where
think
do you
I've been
sit?
trying not to talk about it, which is why we haven't spoken about it yet. Because Nick.
Yeah,
You know.
Thor's your guy,
Thor's
dude.
my man.
But
He's my boy.
He's still there.
He's still Thor. He's still there.
Thor, and he gave it as good as he did. The weight didn't stop him in the end, and he turned full Viking. We see him
I
go
fucking
full
loved
Viking
Thor with the fucking plaited beard and the dreads.
and 2 weapons,
And,
not one.
Yeah.
He was kicking. He was rocking. 2.
That was obviously something I was very thrilled about.
Yeah.
But as you know, as we've discussed, I am not the hugest fan of Thor Ragnarok. That is a controversial opinion, but
that's
I am not
true.
the hugest fan of it because
Yeah.
I don't like
I share your thoughts. On
I
this,
don't
yeah.
like what they've made Thor. I think to a certain degree, it's fun, and I like the little parts of that.
Yep.
And I think they had it perfectly balanced in Infinity War because they were able to kind
Sure.
of tap into his sadness and the tragedy of Thor, but at the same time, he could still make the quips about
He won't beat me again.
yeah, and exactly, and stuff like when he first meets the Guardians. That's a really funny scene,
Yeah.
and we get the best of both worlds. I see you've copied my beard, like that kind of stuff, which was the perfect mix for
It
me.
was.
Ragnarok is way too far into comedic Thor for my liking.
Yeah, yeah.
This movie embraced Ragnarok Thor and not my
And
not what I want my
Infinity-
Thor to
and
be.
not Infinity
yeah.
Thor. Yeah, that's true.
Which
That's
I was a little disappointed by because I think there's a lot of power to be had in that flashback scene with him rediscovering his worth through the conversation that he has with his mother.
Yep.
The
Those whole scenes were those were lovely scenes.
lovely, and the bit where Mjolnir flies through the
Mjolnir. Yeah, keep going.
and he grabs it and he's like, I'm still
I'm
worthy.
still worthy.
It's so important and such it should have
It
been.
is.
It should have sent me fucking out the window.
But
It just didn't.
was it the weight? It wasn't
no,
the
it's
weight.
not.
It
No,
was
I
the
don't
comedy,
mind.
wasn't
It's
it?
the comedy. It's the constant comedy.
Right.
It's that we can't allow him to have an emotional moment without undercutting it with a gag.
With a gag, yeah. And you feel that. You feel it. Because when it gets to the third act and Thanos is sitting there and you have the 3 main guys, you have Thor, Cap, and Tony stand there and look at him and go, okay, this is it. Let's
Yeah.
do it. It's not, you feel it from Cap and Tony, but Thor, you're like, dude, are you up for this? Are
It was-
you up for this?
yeah, it was
or
weird.
Is it
I
gonna,
liked-
you're going to crack some jokes and
I
fuck
liked
off
the way
somewhere
he
else?
was the one that was watching him. And I really liked that he'd been, you don't know how long he'd been sitting there.
No.
But it was just like he'd just been sitting there watching Thanos sit there and be like,
It's just sitting there.
what's going on here? What should I do something about this? Or
Yeah.
should I?
I'm just going to wait.
I'm just going to wait.
hold.
I'm just going to hold. And I reckon I can, in my mind, I've got this image of it being like a good 5 minutes of him them just
Standing
locking
there, yeah.
eyes, just being trying to figure
Just
each
having
other
a-
out.
yeah.
But you're right.
Nice.
There's this doubt in him.
It was a doubt because comedy brings doubt,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
And not that I didn't mind it in small doses. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm a party pooper who doesn't like to laugh. Like, I
No, I
fucking
love those
love
moments,
Rocket
man.
because Rocket makes me laugh and it endears me to him.
Yeah.
Thor was never that to me, and I found it kind of strange that that's what they've embraced in Thor now.
But that's because from Thor 1 and Dark World, you're getting someone who, even the first Avengers, you're getting someone who knows what he's doing, has a destiny to one day be king, and he has to be the adult. Whereas Rocket, from day one, can hold his own, but he does it with a comic flash.
Yeah.
So you expect that from him, Whereas this, it was what's going on? And I love those comedy moments. That whole section of him in the house. You're going to fix my Wi-Fi. Korg saying, "Hey man, help yourself to the free Wi-Fi. Take a beer if you like." That was gold. Everyone loved it.
It was fun. And the very nice moment where they mentioned Thanos and it turns and he's
Yeah.
like,
He's like-
and Hulk's reaction was really strange. The please take your hand off me. It was really odd. I found that, and I was like,
no, it was nice because it dropped it.
no,
to a
that's
level
what I
you were
mean. I was like,
fucking,
oh, I want to
okay.
explore this because I want to explore because these are the two characters that are the most emotionally, well, let's say, have had their power stripped from them the most.
Yeah.
Because they're the two that have
But
never
haven't-
faced that kind of defeat before.
Yeah, and haven't had what we're getting is a glimpse into maybe some of that PTSD that we see in all the other characters
Yes.
that have all the other Avengers.
But it was just I'm selfish because I love Thor.
I know.
I really do, and I
totally
love Chris
legit.
Hemsworth in the role, and I just felt like that he didn't get the chance to be as emotionally affecting as he was in Infinity War, because there is like seeing the lengths he will go to in Infinity War was so powerful, I thought. And then to have him like a man-child kind of running around like crying into his beard and yes I am crying, it's just, it was a bit kind of okay,
totally legit.
you've made his trauma kind of funny. And it shouldn't be funny.
It shouldn't be funny.
It should
No.
be really sad. And the only time they fully embraced that was in the opening scene where he's the one to cut Thanos' head off.
Yeah.
And then they forgot about it a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I was a little saddened by that.
Yeah.
Not that the stuff that's happening with his character is bad.
No. It's just it's not as warm or hard hitting as you want it to be.
Yeah.
You know.
And and that's just me because he's my favorite character.
Yeah. I legit I feel that as well.
Yeah.
All right. We get the Hulk snap.
We get the Hulk snap, and we get this is another moment where we could have used 5 minutes. We could have just used 5 minutes, people. It's 3 hours. 3 hours 10 is not going to kill anyone. If we're all holding in our pee for 3 hours, we can do 10 more minutes.
We could do 10 more minutes.
Because God, how much did you just want to let them feel like they'd done it?
I kind of like it.
Do you?
I kind of like the unknown. Did we fix it? Do we know?
No, I don't need them to like have a big party with all the people back again.
No, I don't need that either. I like them to go, have we done it? And then all of a sudden, we don't get to know because we are being hit with warheads.
I think it's just, I'm with you. I don't think you need to change a single thing about that.
Yeah.
But you just need to, I wanted to
You wanna
live
breathe.
in that moment for
You want
another
just
2
a
minutes.
full exhale.
Just, like, literally, look at birds. Have Ant-Man say, guys, I think we did it. And have Iron Man come and join him and just look at the birds together.
Yeah.
And then have Hawkeye finish the call, come and walk up to him and go, guys, I think we might have done it.
Yeah.
Like, it was just give me a moment. Just give me a minute, because then have the realization that, oh, what have we brought with us?
Yeah.
Happen.
Yeah.
And it would
Because you don't get to breathe for another 30 minutes after that.
because they're still
Or 45, I don't
in
know how long it
full
went.
fight mode.
Yeah.
So there would have been something really kind of dangerous. It would have felt more urgent if they'd had the moment to relax, because it wouldn't have just been like, because we all would have breathed together,
Man.
and then we would have had it taken away,
And then all of a
stripped out
sudden,
of us.
shit.
Yeah. There's something really strong about giving a character a moment of happiness and then pulling it away from them, as opposed to never giving it to them.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I kind of agree with you there.
But no, having said that, you are right. It's apples and oranges.
Could have gone either way.
It could have gone either way. Personally, that's just what I was just wanted that moment.
No, you don't get to breathe. Guess what you've brought with you.
Guess what? Fucking
And not only like it's not just oh, they're playing the living. It's not checkmate. It's not okay, ready, set, go. It's none of that. It's everyone has been blown to pieces. People are almost dying. You have to not only survive, but get out and to find out what just happened.
Yeah.
Because the entire of wherever they are they're at Avengers HQ, aren't they?
Yeah.
Where it happens, and there is nothing left.
No.
Nothing.
I thought for a minute that they were going to do like they were going to have to retcon the time travel. I thought for a minute that it was they were just going to get completely blown up, and the move that the last one of them did before they all died was to use the time stone and go, that didn't work. Why didn't it work? What have we got to do differently?
Right.
But that didn't
I'm
happen.
glad that didn't do that.
That didn't
That
happen.
would be weird. And then, obviously, we get one of the biggest moments of this movie. We get Cap, Tony, and Thor versus Thanos.
So yeah, once there's the rubble, there's the arrival of Thanos. Thanos basically just, I love it where he just says, "Find me the stones. I'm just going to chill here." Yeah, it's so great.
Do your thing.
It's so good.
Because you get all four of his soldiers back.
Yeah, they're back.
They're back.
Yeah. They don't play anywhere near as much of a role, which is disappointing.
Yeah.
And I even think doesn't Falcon kill one of them? And I'm like,
yeah, man, full legit. Wings
Yeah.
straight into the chest.
they're
And I'm like,
far
wow.
less intimidating this time around, those guys.
That guy just died.
They were a real, like,
They were a
formidable
massive
threat.
Yeah, they were huge.
They're not in this.
No.
They get disposed of.
Yeah. Well, this is the
pretty quick.
other thing that I have as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So
Cat.
well, we get the stuff underground, which I think is
You
really
do?
cool.
I was actually in one of these moments when Rocket starts to scream out help. I was like, "Fuck, no, not like this, no," because this is the moment where you're like, "Okay, this shit is about to go down.
Yeah.
Let's all brace ourselves. Everyone's ready. You down there in the third row, can you please stop playing with your popcorn for just 2 seconds? You know, and this is going to happen.
And you've got Hawkeye trying to basically bring the gauntlet out, basically.
He has it. He's got the mission. It's him or nothing.
Yeah.
And I love that arrow that has the light on it that goes
Yeah.
down, and you just see what's about to happen.
It's a great
Because
choice of
it
character to have that responsibility because, he is the least powered of them in that moment.
but almost the one that's got the
the most
riding on it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He gets his family back.
He knows that his family's back now, and it's like, well, fucking hell, we're doing this.
Let's do this.
Let's
You are
get
not
it
going to
yeah.
beat me. You know.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of just a little bit didn't like that Nebula and Gamora rocked up.
Yeah,
I
fair enough.
wasn't a huge fan of that.
I would have liked to have seen Hawkeye be but then he does get that great moment where Black Panther basically says, "Hey man,
Clint,
you've taken it this far,
dude.
You've
hand
done
it
a
over.
killer job.
Yeah.
Let's let us handle it from here."
Yeah.
It's similar.
And
It's
it's
similar
such
to
a
the Spider-Man moment where he's holding it like clutching it like it's a baby,
and he's like,
and he's all bloodied up, and he's like, Are you gonna take this from me now, please? Like it was great. It was so good to see all of them have that kind of like no, we've all got to help to combine it here.
Yeah.
But yes,
hang on a minute. You're jumping ahead. Cap, Thor, Iron Man. Let's have a moment here because this is the three go toe to toe with Thanos, and this is you see a Thanos with not only the warrior, but you see him without the gauntlet. He doesn't have the gauntlet.
He can still fuck
and he's
shit up.
Still powerful as hell.
Which is great because it shows you that it wasn't just the gauntlet.
No,
like he is fucking
a guy.
bad.
Yeah,
like the three of them. It took 6 of them to get a second's worth of success when he had the gauntlet.
Yeah,
like, and that was even that was fleeting. Like, so it makes sense that without it, he still can kick some serious ass.
exactly. So so Tony was up first. Then we got Thor.
Yep.
And Thor I didn't like that Thor didn't come back from that what he did to him.
No, me neither. I actually kind of.
I was like, nah, come on, he's got more in there.
Yeah,
he's got.
I
way
believe
more
both
in
of
there.
them could have stuck around a little bit longer, but unfortunately, we needed
to keep going.
We needed to keep going because it is about Cap in this
and
moment.
then you get something that is a little controversial.
Oh yes,
you get the fact that Cap is worthy to hold.
It's hands down my favorite moment of the movie.
Really?
Yep, 100%.
I love it.
The most fucking amazing moment. I could not tell you how much I loved it.
Yeah. And then from there, you're getting Cap hold a hammer and a shield, and just the combination of them both. So good.
So fucking good. Like, there are no words for it. It was just... And
I had an erection the entire time.
Like, seriously, like, exactly. Like, there were moments in Infinity War that made you stand up and cheer.
Yeah.
Like, there really were. But there is nothing like that moment, I think. Because I think I was actually unable to make sound. It was huge. It is so perfect. Because the whole, it's been a running gag forever that no one can pick up
Mjolnir.
And we had that little moment in Ultron where it just wiggled a little bit and Thor panics.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? No.
Hang on a minute.
No.
Let's chill out there for a minute.
Yeah, you just put that down.
Yeah.
And but to see, and I tend to, I've heard it thought of in different ways that he was always worthy, but he's just never tried.
He never wanted to. Yeah.
I don't believe that's the case.
You don't think so?
I believe that
because of what's happened.
It's in this moment that it's 100% realized that at the dying stages, at the moment where his two greatest allies have fallen,
Yep.
and he knows that he has one chance, and he's on a physical level, like just punching him out. He's probably least likely to survive against Thanos.
100%.
But he's the one that's like, it's my turn.
He's the most
I'm
determined.
here.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
It finally went. You've always been real close, Steve. real close.
But guess what?
But guess what, man? You've tipped over.
Dude,
You've done
let's do it.
You've done
Let's
it.
do
It's
it.
time to go.
Yeah. So a lot of people had, how does he get this lightning? Where does this lightning come from? So for those people playing the home game, those who said by Odin in the first Thor, whoever shall hold this hammer shall embody the power of Thor. That's how he has that lightning.
Yeah, I just...
Obviously, I'm telling the people who are listening. Yeah, people who are listening who
it's like,
don't
you got
know.
the hammer, you can call lightning. That's how it works.
That's how it works.
For sure.
Exactly.
Fuck, that's such a great... Oh, man, it's such a great brawl.
So
I'm almost disappointed that, like...
It didn't last just
It
a
did
little bit longer.
I just wanted him to fuck up Thanos just a bit longer.
But this is where, when this happened, and it's getting to the point where the shield is broken, and it's getting to the end of that fight. I'm like, okay, this is the moment that I'm not. Okay,
how's the shield getting fucked up by the sword too?
Yeah.
Like, oh my god,
it's almost chipping away, and you know what's about to happen, and what they're doing is so well done. They're taking it piece by piece, and they're going, you know what's about to happen. We're letting you deal with it slowly, but it doesn't happen.
Well, let's just take a moment as well, because the fact that they took the second, and thank God they did, because this is part of it as well.
Yeah.
Like, let your characters breathe, people.
Yeah.
Let your characters breathe. This is one where they finally allowed it. They allowed the moment of Cap to stand there, look out at the armies that he was about to
Horde that was
face,
coming.
and give him the moment on his face to tighten up the shield and go, fucking bring it on.
This is it.
Let's dance,
Yeah,
bitches.
yeah.
Because
Exactly.
and that was him in a nutshell. And I'm so glad they allowed that moment, because that's the kind of moment they weren't letting this movie have in other parts. And it was so good that they did it. And On Your Left is up there with Mew Mew for me, like as a moment of of fist pumping
Cap.
fucking cheer.
On your left.
Yeah. I'm so glad it was Bucky. No, sorry, it was Sam as well,
Sam,
because
I
just
didn't
to
want
call
it to be
back.
Doctor Strange. I thought it would have been Doctor Strange, but I'm glad that it wasn't.
No,
because I knew
yeah.
that's how they were going to all appear out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, let it be someone. Let it be, let it be someone else.
But it's also cool that he was the one talking to him, but it wasn't him that walked through.
Yeah.
It was just like, hey, I'm also here, but check it out.
Hey, look who I got.
Look who's here with me, man.
I know.
I'm
right?
just a dude in a mechanical bird suit. I can do some stuff, but not
I
a
have
lot.
guns. Like, that's not great.
Yeah.
Against what we're going up against.
I got a lot of guns, but
I got a lot of guns.
This
But
guy can do some shit.
And this, like, not only that, it just one-upped itself every time that we saw people arrive.
Yeah.
You see, like, Panther and his armies rock up.
Yeah.
You see the Guardians, all of that. And then the last but not least, you see Ant-Man rise out of the thing, become Giant Man with Hulk.
No, straight.
and
But this
Rocket.
is great. It's straight after the moment where Doctor Strange is like,
that's
Is
it?
this everyone?
Is this
And he's
everyone?
like,
Do
what?
we
Do you think? Did you
more?
You want more
people?
Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah.
Wong is like super underrated. Like,
I love Wong.
Like, he's so great.
Wong, I love that Wong it's Infinity War. Wong, you're invited to the wedding.
Yeah, exactly.
So good.
But yeah, and so we get Giant Man, and he unfurls his hand, and Hulk,
And he has
War
Hulk
Machine and Rocket.
War Machine, Rocket,
Yeah, and we're so happy, obviously, that nothing happened with those, because it was looking pretty.
It was looking good
dire
for
for
Rocket,
them.
man. Yeah.
Oh man! And then we just get the greatest fucking explosion of action of all time.
Yeah. Which takes multiple watchings to see. There are things happening in that
Oh
background.
my God, everywhere.
That you have to watch it multiple times
Yeah,
to go.
it's worthwhile, like, just watching different parts of it at different times.
Yeah, exactly.
We get I feel like we should just, because it is just, there are so many small moments in this, we could talk for hours.
Yeah.
It's probably better just to breeze through and say, great action happens.
Yeah.
Watch this. You could watch this probably, what is it, 30 minutes or
I think
so?
it's about 30 minutes, yeah.
You
Well,
could just
it
watch
feels
this 30 minutes. I feel like when I do finally get this on
Blu-ray.
Blu-ray?
Or 4K HD.
4K HD, whatever, that I will often watch from the moment the missiles hit
to
the end,
Yep.
as like I've got an hour to kill.
Yeah.
Let's just watch.
Let's
watch that because it's just fucking fanboy
Yeah.
brilliance. Like
My note is
man.
Marvel versus Thanos.
Yeah, basically,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And we still get moments of really great character stuff.
Yeah.
Like one of the only, like, surprisingly for me, because I thought I was going to cry through all this motherfucking thing.
Right.
One of the only times I really found myself tearing up was when,
Tony and Spidey.
I mean, no, that was wonderful. But believe it or not, it was when the Wasp reappeared next to Ant-Man.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And they had that little moment where they looked at each other.
Yeah, Cap, cool, we're going to get on it.
Yeah.
And he just goes,
that got me, man. I was like, oh, it's so because
wow.
like Ant-Man was like an underrated kind of emotional heart of this movie as well. The way he made it really clear. He's like, no, I get it, Iron Man. You're happy now, but fuck, like, people lost people.
Yeah.
And you can't.
A lot of people have lost people. And you're the one who could fix this.
You're the one that can fix this. Don't pull this shit. And he got the love of his life back.
Yeah. Exactly.
It was pretty amazing.
Pretty big. Yeah.
And then we get that really fucking cool moment. And I don't care if you don't like this moment.
Get fucked.
You can get fucked.
Yeah.
Because there is more than half of this population that needed this moment.
Exactly.
And
yes, like this was discussed. This has been discussed multiple times, billions of times already. I'm pretty sure. When the 3 of them rocked up, it was cool. When the 4 of them rocked up, it was cool. When the 5 of them rocked up, you were like, oh, okay, enough. And then when all of them got together, you were like, oh, that's a bit much. Now, rewind it back to how you felt if you were a male and Cap, Iron Man, and Thor were staring down at Thanos. That was our moment. Every other moment we've had in these Marvel movies have been our moments.
We've had every moment. We've had all of them.
Exactly.
All of them.
All of those
to date
moments
have been our moments.
Exactly.
You can't get shitty about them getting one moment
The
because
time
it's a
is
pretty
changing.
fucking badass moment.
It's a fucking rad moment.
It's great.
Exactly.
And it's similar to the one in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, no, she's not alone.
Yeah.
And it's
a lot of people like compare those two, which is great. And the argument has come up that is a little bit more what is the word I'm looking for?
subtle.
No, a little bit more fluid. Like
Yeah.
it just happens more naturally.
Sure.
More
Okay.
naturally. Where it was a little forced, but I don't care. It was brilliant.
No,
like, you got to think back. You got to think back as well as all the little girls who are watching this film as well.
That is it. It's 100% for them.
For them.
It is
It's
for
not
them.
for you.
And let them have that because it's fucking awesome. Like,
Exactly.
it's really great because they get to see all these characters band up together and go, we can fucking handle ourselves.
Yeah.
And
we're just as powerful.
yeah, like,
If
and
not
you need
the
that.
most powerful.
Exactly. If not the most powerful is leading them.
Yeah.
You need that. That moment needs to exist.
Exactly.
And yes, in some ways it does feel forced, but it's allowed to feel forced because I think we as a society need to make a conscious effort to insert
To put these
moments.
things in, yeah.
It's I kind of think it's pretty similar to Joe Russo's cameo.
Right.
Like,
A lot of people had gripes with this.
As-
Why do people have gripes
as
with this?
as it's revealed in quite natural dialogue because
Yeah.
and I'm victim of this too. I'm watching that scene assuming he's talking about a woman that he went on a date with.
Yeah.
And when it becomes apparent that it's a man, you catch yourself and go, oh. But
But it's not a thing.
That's it. It shouldn't be a thing. And we need to move towards a time when
Yeah.
we don't have that as an occurrence. But I think that's wonderful that it's in there because
Yeah.
it needs to be in there and it should feel a little bit like a deliberate choice
Yeah.
at this point because it needs to be.
Exactly. A lot of some people had gripes with the fact that MCU after 10 years is finally putting in a gay character and the character is only a minor extra. And the other side of the argument is do you need a gay representation in every single Marvel movie that you have? Is that what we're talking about here? To be honest, how about we just let it be? How about that?
I think we should just acknowledge the fact that it's a great representation that a character that is used as the audience surrogate for humans is someone
Nice.
not of straight sexuality.
Yeah.
Like, and that shouldn't be a problem. That we should all be able to.
I love these moments.
We should all be able to relate to that person regardless of his sexuality, and that's the end goal of everything. Is that we should be able to look at another human being regardless of their gender, sexuality, whatever, race, religion, and be able to feel empathy for them because they are a human being.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
How is that so difficult? I will never understand.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
that is, you know, and so that's, you know, go nuts. Comic book movies should contain that stuff as well.
Just to rewind 1 second.
Yeah.
There's a moment in the end battle where the ship points its guns to what's coming at it.
Oh, yeah.
We just skipped over a touch.
Yes.
Because this is the introduction of the most powerful person
She's
on
back.
this playing field.
Yeah.
And she rips through that ship with one punch.
Pretty much.
And this is where, like, my what did I call it? My what did I say?
I don't know what you're trying to say.
I was trying to say, what my plan? No, it wasn't my plan, but what I thought that was going to happen was that she would die off first. But it wasn't.
Oh, that's right. Your theory. Your magic theory
But
was
it
that-
wasn't. It wasn't at all. And
But it was similar.
It was. Yeah. It was kind of. I like what they kind of did with it.
They pushed her to the sidelines for almost the entire movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
So essentially, she was. She served the narrative in the same way that you hoped she would.
Exactly.
They just found a different way to remove her from it.
There's a lot of the galaxy that's dealing with what you guys are dealing with, and they don't have superheroes.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing writing.
And I really
Right
enjoyed. Yeah, absolutely. And a very good point that I don't think we like.
You guys will be fine. How about you deal with
everybody in the cast kind of goes, like, all the characters go, oh yeah, it's a good point.
Legit.
And makes us kind of go, yeah, I guess you're totally
it?
right.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
But I do really enjoy her punch on with Thanos because yes, we all assumed that she was the strongest and she could probably just wipe the floor with him.
Yep.
But the fact is that he's not just a dumb strong guy.
Yeah.
He's really smart. And so while they're having their fight, and it's the only time you see in a fight with Thanos him feel like he is
Losing the grip.
Yeah.
Losing the grip.
Like, other characters have given him a good run, but he's recovered super quickly,
Yep.
and it never really looks like he's losing.
Yeah.
This is the first time where we've seen him, but he adapted immediately.
Take out the Power Stone, put it in the other hand, and punch her with as much
and
force
it
as I could.
proves that, yes, she may have been more powerful than any of our other Avengers, but this
Exactly.
is still not a character that we're dealing with here that just would go, oh, I'm going to get punched. My head's going to get punched off. This is not what we're dealing with here.
Exactly.
He is a character that can adapt. We've only ever seen him be moderately inconvenienced by our greatest heroes.
You're not dealing with a whiplash.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And one other, just that little quick moment is we get Pepper Potts.
Oh, Pepper!
In a fucking Iron Man suit.
So what do we call her when she's in the...
I forget, they gave her a name. I forgot what it was.
She has a name.
Damn it.
It's fucking... Because isn't it in the comics that the iron suit that she wears isn't a fighting suit? It's a... It's like a... she's like a medic.
Yeah.
Rescue.
That's right.
Yeah.
Rescue's her name. That's right.
But she kicks some fucking ass. It's so great.
That was so good.
And I love that it's obviously a nice throwback to earlier in the film when Tony's talking about to his daughter, saying that your mum never wears anything I buy her. Right?
No,
This
exactly.
is a present I was making for her, and she'll never use it.
She'll never use it.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna. Oh, actually, you know what? We're gonna hold. We're gonna do one more thing, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
I could do this all day.
Okay.
Okay.
What's your last question?
The last question.
Well, it doesn't
Tys.
have to be the last one. We can maybe do another one.
I can do another one?
Maybe. We'll see how we go. We knew this was going to be a long episode.
Okay. How are we doing? Okay.
No. Oh, it's long. It's going to be
It's
a long one.
gonna be a long one.
Yeah.
Shit. I don't have. I only have one last question, but I wanted to leave it till the last question.
All right. Well, let me
What do you got,
ask
Tys?
one
What
for
do you got?
then.
Give me some.
So,
if
let's
you want to
go
do
with-
heroes, give me some heroes.
So we talk about some heroes.
if you want to, you don't have to.
Oh, okay. So, what's been your favorite casting choices in the MCU?
Ooh.
We'll go with two. Give us your two favorite casting choices.
Favorite casting choices. Well, number one, straight off the bat, is Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, 100%.
There is, and that's what a lot of people have come away from this movie because of what we're about to talk about, is saying that you couldn't have cast anyone else. The man embodies not only the character, and I'm talking about a character who I've read before 2008 when Iron Man dropped. He was perfect. They did so well. Like, he was that person. You know, it's bizarre. It's bizarre to see him in other films now. So when I watch things like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, or, you know, I'll watch Sherlock Holmes, I go, this is weird. This is weird. But he's so good. So good. Not only that, you can tell that he's bringing things to this role that aren't in the script. You know, that aren't there. So he knows what he's doing and fully fleshing out that character and watching him develop. This is a very different Iron Man from 1 to 3 to Ultron. You've got completely different characters in all of that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So it's 100%.
To watch his arc across the films, it's really a wonderful experience.
Because and he's the character who's in the most films.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He is. It's funny how I don't think he's the one that... I think he'd be a lot of people's favourites, but he's not one that everyone would relate to in the same way they would kind of love Captain America, for instance. Or Thor.
Exactly.
Because he is probably... He has a lot of conflict in him. And he's not the simplest character to like. It's not necessarily... Like, his charm is obviously, you know... goes without question, but him as he's not the clear-cut hero. It's always been a challenge for him to fully embrace that part of him.
Yeah.
And I think that makes him a more interesting character, and it's something that Robert Downey Jr. does effortlessly. So yeah, I'm on board. I'm on board. I'll do one of mine. Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury is probably one of my favorite casting choices across it all.
Nice.
For a guy that's in every movie that gets released ever, to find us a way to put him into this effectively that plays to his skill, that his physical presence, and his Samuel L. Jackson-ness, like his kind of attitude.
Yeah.
I think it was an incredible choice, and they've done so well with him. And I'm excited to see him again soon, because apparently he's the kind of the support character for the next Spider-Man movie. So,
nice.
I like him as in that role. I like him as the
he is. He's in the trailers.
He's great in like Captain Marvel as like the other character. You know what I mean? He's so great in that, and we got to learn a lot more about him. And he's great in those kind of smaller roles, like in Iron Man 2. He's probably one of the stronger parts of Iron Man 2 as well.
Yeah. I like that he actually had gripes with the fact that he wasn't in Civil War, and Samuel L. did.
Yeah, right.
And they were like, "Dude, we'd love to put you in, but we're done. We're capped with characters. We don't know where to put you."
But and you know, he got to a point where him turning up was always an exciting thing.
Yeah,
like in Ultron, where he turns up at Hawkeye's farm.
Yeah,
it's a great moment to see him again. You kind of feel at ease because it's like, here he is,
nice.
Nick Fury. Yeah, okay, cool. We're gonna be okay. And I think a lot of that is Samuel's doing. Do you have a second one?
I don't think that I do. The other one may be Tom Holland's.
Yeah, Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Wonderful casting.
Yeah. Which is bizarre because he's English, but I guess that's got nothing to do with it, really. Yeah, I love him. I think it's the first, because going back, Tobey Maguire, I don't know, I need to rewatch them again. I love those Spider-Man, they're great. But Tobey just didn't sit with who Spider-Man is for me. Like, he did the nerd, the nerd really well, but the fact that you didn't see his brilliance, because Peter Parker is intelligent as well. Yeah. He makes the web fluid. It's not organic, so that was kind of weird.
He's a big reason why I am hesitant to go back to those Sam Raimi trilogy.
And Andrew Garfield was way too fucking cool to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't be intimidated by a guy on a fucking skateboard. Like, to be too cool, you know what I mean?
His high hair.
I'm like,
does it.
dude, you're a bit too cool to be. Yeah, just stand over there. Yeah. So Tom Holland, especially with his age, is the closest to Spider-Man's casting that I felt has been the most realistic.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Nice one.
Yeah.
The other one I feel like mentioning is Bradley Cooper as the voice of Rocket
really?
Raccoon. Yeah.
This is weird because every time I hear Rocket, I don't hear Bradley Cooper.
Well, I think that's a sign of good casting.
Really?
More than anything.
Right.
Is that I think Bradley Cooper, the movie star, doesn't feel at all like Bradley Cooper, the Rocket Raccoon voice.
Rocket Raccoon.
I feel like it's it's a character that is purely exists on its own merit now and is not dependent on knowing that Bradley Cooper voices it. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which
I don't hear
is
Bradley
testament to
Cooper
him
at all.
doing
Yeah.
such a great job of it. Because, when you listen to certain voice casts and you can see the actor when you listen to it, and you don't, not that you don't buy into the character, but you're always aware of the actor that is voicing it. And I don't feel that way about
Yeah,
Rocket
that's
Raccoon.
true. That's true.
And because it's quite different to his persona, like his public persona. Rocket is this brash, hilarious, like bit of a jerk kind of character
he's great.
who I love, like I absolutely adore.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is Bradley Cooper playing against his kind of typical type, but embracing that wholeheartedly and having such a great time with it. I just think it was a really great choice and does it to a T.
It's going back to Endgame. It's one of the moments that I'm really looking forward to, because I would like a conversation between Rocket and Star-Lord, because we haven't really kind of had the reconnection
Yeah, absolutely.
between them just yet.
Yeah, which will be fun when we get the as Guardians of the Galaxy, I guess.
Galaxy. Yeah. Good question.
That's what we call ourselves. Sort of like a team. Earth's mightiest heroes type thing.
We'll do one more to wrap it up. We'll do your last one.
We'll do my last one to wrap it up?
Yeah.
All right. Tys, we're back into the Endgame, and
Let's get this done. Let's wrap things up.
We
man.
get we get the immortal line, "Because I am Iron Man."
So good. The only thing that caused me a little bit of discomfort is because it took him about 8 hours to say it.
Say it. I was like, dude, just fucking say it.
I was like, oh,
everyone knows what
yeah.
you're going to say.
Everyone knows what you're going to say.
Yeah.
And there was something so beautiful about the way he said it in the first one, where it was that moment of complete acceptance, but also like,
what are you going to do?
Exactly. It was so arrogant and so like, fuck you all.
Yeah.
I'm Iron Man.
I'm Iron Man.
And I kind of wanted it to be that again. I kind of wanted that moment of like because Thanos' speech is so grand and like operatic and Shakespearean. I am inevitable. Yeah. And he could have just been,
I'm Iron Man.
Well, I'm Iron Man. Bitch. Like it needed like a bitch at the end or something like that. Like just something that kind of.
No, not a bitch. Don't cheapen it. Just,
no, but not exclusively that.
Yeah.
But something that carried that same kind of like, you know what? You're talking the talk, but guess what? You're not going to win this day.
Yeah, yeah.
Like there needed to be. I would have not that there needed to be. That sounds really kind of that's unfair.
Yeah.
But I would have loved it to have carried a little bit of the Tony Stark charm to it.
Yeah. Because he knows what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Do you think he knows?
I know he knows that he's not going to survive for sure.
Yeah.
You can see it in his face when he looks at Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange, he has that moment where he's like, "Hang on, is this
my gut feeling correct?
Because
Is
I
that
feel
what
like
you're
I'm
saying?
about to sacrifice myself."
Yeah.
And he makes eye contact with Doctor Strange, and he knows, and he says,
Holds up at that
he
one.
holds out the one, and it's like, "This is it, Tony. This is the
you.
one. It was always you."
Yeah.
Fuck, it's a good moment.
It's a really good moment.
Oh.
And then the tears
that
just come
moment
out.
with Doctor Strange, it's fucking, oh man, it's so good. Because he's just willing him. He's like, but he's testing him at the same time. It's kind of saying, are you prepared?
This is you, dude.
I'm
This
telling
is
you,
all
1 in 14 mil. The number was always weird. It was 14 million and 5 or 8. I was like, wow, that's kind of convenient that it just was just a few over
7,
14 million.
You saw 1 week extra.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But just the way he's saying, this is, are you prepared? Because I'm telling you right now, I love that he said, I can't tell you because you might not do it.
I love that.
As soon as you know, you probably won't do it. Good. But just that moment of him going, I can tell you now because this is it.
We're at the moment.
We are at the moment. You've got no other choice, Tony. This is it. You either do it or we're done for.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. And that I also love to throw back straight to the time travel bit again, when Bruce was when he just let slip that no, Doctor Strange gave him the stone, and Tilda Swinton just went, "What? He gave it to him?"
Yeah,
and it was like, "Oh, okay, so this has to. Okay, cool. Here you go."
Yeah, it's so good that moment where
those
as soon as she realizes that he turned it over, it was like, "Oh no, there's a reason."
No, there's a
this.
reason.
You can
Okay,
have it.
cool.
Yeah.
So then, we get our only other casualty, which is Tony Stark.
Yes, of course.
Which was very full on.
Was super full on.
Super full on.
Good choice of character to.
Really?
I think,
You
yeah.
okay? It bookends it for me.
It does. And I don't know
He
what else you
started
could
it.
do with him
Yeah.
now. And, I mean, essentially, we could say that Captain America, it's
It's
the end of his too.
Yeah,
And we got to have the end of the two characters without actually killing both of them.
correct.
But we're done with Captain America in this iteration.
Yeah.
Like as well.
That's true. So we get we get Thor joining the Guardians, and we get Cap passing the torch,
Yes.
which I love the choice. It was a no-brainer for me. It can't be Bucky. It's either, because in the comic iteration it's either Bucky or Falcon,
Yeah.
and I much prefer to go to Falcon.
I think Bucky needs a more opportunity to have his own story
And
elsewhere.
redeem himself.
Yeah,
like the world knows who the Winter Soldier is, and
Yeah.
they don't.
I don't think we've fully.
He's not the hero
we haven't fully explored that yet, and I'd
Yeah.
like to see. I know that we're going to get the opportunity to, perhaps in the television series
Yeah.
with the two of them.
Yeah.
I find it strange though. Like, I'm all for this Disney Plus thing,
Yeah.
bringing these characters to television.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I don't know about the title of WandaVision.
WandaVision. It sounds like a
sounds like you're saying Wonka Vision wrong.
Or-
Wonka Vision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It sounds like an MTV show.
Yeah.
Like where children answer quizzes about current movies. And stuff.
WandaVision. Yeah.
The whole TV thing, though, it's a strange kind of. Am I going to be able to commit to all these television shows? Because I faded away pretty quickly from the Marvel TV stuff on Netflix because it had no bearing on the films.
Yeah.
And so I could happily live my life and go, I don't have the
good.
time for this. I'm sure some of them are fine, but none of them were ever good enough to make me like obsessed with them.
Yep.
They were, at best, they were good to fine. You know
Sure.
what I mean? Am I now going to have to watch like 6 different shows? Because these characters, I love these characters.
I think it'll be I think it will be a spin-off in just the same as the way that S.H.I.E.L.D. did it.
But is it weird that we're going to have that kind of style spin-off, but with Captain
Legit
America
characters, yeah.
now?
Yeah.
The guy that is now Captain America is now not starring in $100 million blockbusters.
No.
He's on a weekly television show on Disney Plus. Is that weird?
No.
Okay. All right.
I
Good
don't
point.
know. I don't know. Maybe he'll get to. I don't know. Maybe it will be a Winter Soldier and Falcon, Captain America movie eventually. I think they just have to test the waters and see what happens.
Maybe their stories won't be as important anymore. Maybe the idea. Maybe we can just go on with our lives knowing that Falcon took the mantle of Captain America, but I don't need to watch 8 hours of him being Captain America.
Yeah.
Unless
you want to.
Unless I want to.
Yeah.
Maybe I can go into the next phase of movies and just knowing in the background that thing is happening.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I just don't want it to be like, I don't want to have to
You
roll
have
up
to
to a
watch
movie
this
in
to this and this
2020
and
and
then
be
go
like,
to-
who's this fucking person? And then someone says, oh, he was in WandaVision. He's really cool. And I'm like, I'm not fucking... Oh,
I don't have to watch you have to watch WandaVision season 3.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then, and then you'll
I'm like,
understand.
sorry, how many seasons do I have to watch? Oh, there's 3 seasons. There's 22 episodes a season. And I'm like, oh, fuck, all right, here we go. You're telling me I can't go see this movie now
No,
until I've
unfortunately
seen
not. Sorry.
74 episodes of a Disney Plus fucking
TV series.
content.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that's not the case. Anyway.
But yeah. So obviously, and it's not great that I don't like that Thor's joined the Guardians because it has cemented what you've said. Like he's a comedian now.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I love him, and I love all these other projects, but it is Taika Waititi's fault.
Fault.
It is his fault.
All right.
And because that movie was responded to so well,
Yeah.
and everybody loved it, and it's now being embraced wholeheartedly that Thor is
A comedy character.
comedic relief.
Yeah.
Which disappoints me to no end. The Guardians were that for me, and they worked exceptionally well as that. They were great. That's what they do. That's what they're there to do.
And you still had Thor, like in the other movies, with some comedy elements in it.
That's fine. I'm not saying
But-
he can't be funny.
Yeah, they're
he
all
can
funny.
be funny, but he can't be in a comedy.
It's weird.
I don't think what makes him better is that he's not a comedian.
Exactly.
He's a fish out of water surrounded by things that he doesn't quite understand.
Legit.
Anyway.
Yeah. And then the movie wraps with some beautiful jazz. But we get some just going back on the funeral. The funeral was very nice. a lot of people have gripes with the fact that Black Widow didn't get a few.
Yeah, that was kind of weird, huh?
Yeah.
Like there wasn't like a
Something.
a side, or like they didn't do like both of them in the same ceremony to a
Or
degree.
even not, just have Tony's, but have then a couple of days later Hawkeye putting some flowers.
Oh yeah,
on
so that
someone's
there
grave.
might have been
You know,
one and we just didn't
We
see
didn't
it.
get to see that one.
I tell you what, I really did like. I liked that Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch had a little moment again.
Yeah, I did like that.
Because their little relationship in Age of Ultron was one of my favorite things.
And in Civil War.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So there was that relationship that was nice.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
Because I think he was one of the only people that she fully trusted when she was still unsure of herself and where she was going. So it was really nice that they both lost somebody and both got to kind of help each other heal in
Each
that
other,
way.
yeah.
Really lovely, really lovely. And then we get Cap and Peggy
We get Captain Peg.
dancing and possibly creating all kinds of wormholes and alternate realities and plot holes. But
Massively. Yeah.
I'm sure they will all get dealt with at some point or another. I'm not going to speculate.
I'm sure we'll see it in Agent Carter season 3.
I think they already didn't they already try
No,
and do
there's
season 3?
like
They
two.
did 2?
No,
Okay.
too. Yeah.
My
Endgame.
God, epic,
Endgame.
Nicholas, epic, and I'm fairly certain we've missed a bazillion great
missed
things,
tons of shit.
and we've been talking about it for over 2 hours, I think, and
All
we've
right.
probably missed some substantial
We
things.
have.
Um,
But this is where you write in, people.
That's
and
it.
Tell
What
us
was your favourite
What would you
moment?
like us to talk about?
yeah.
Last question, Tys.
Oh, yes, go for it.
What's your favourite Marvel movie, Tys?
What's my favourite MCU movie?
What's your favourite MCU?
Do I get 2 or do I only get 1?
You only get one.
I only get 1.
This is the one where you get just one.
Oh, dude, that's
I'm going to
tough.
hold up just like Doctor Strange.
Oh, just Doctor Strange. There's only
Hold up
one.
that one.
There's only one.
Because mine, Tys, I'll
You
let
do
you have
yours
some time to think,
Okay.
because in the rewatching this time, I couldn't, if you'd asked me beforehand, I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Sure.
I don't know. It's too hard. For me this time, in this moment, hopefully it lasts a little longer than just this week,
Yeah.
it's Civil War.
Nice.
It's Civil War for me on many, many different levels.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love every minute of it. It's the action, the different parts, the layers of Zemo, the fact that you're getting like you get the first act, you get the second act, and in that third act, you see something that we haven't seen before, which is 2 of our favorite characters are beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah, for sure.
And you don't know what to do, so you end up yelling "stop" at the TV.
Exactly, you don't
You're
know
like,
who to go
stop,
for.
Stop
Yeah.
it! Stop! You know. So it's emotional to its nth degree.
It is indeed. You are
And I
100%
love it.
correct.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that choice at all. I support it wholeheartedly. It would easily be in the conversation.
Yeah. But yours is Incredible Hulk.
Of course.
Wow.
Yeah.
Legit.
How did you know?
Well done, man.
No, it is Infinity War.
It's Infinity War.
Yeah, Infinity War is the most. I've never felt the same way I did coming out of that film.
It was your favorite movie of last year, wasn't it?
It was my favorite movie of last year. It was, despite feeling like it was like a cop out saying that was my favorite movie of last year. Upon the most 2 recent rewatches, it's just cemented how incredibly ambitious it was, but so clever. So like it is one of those few occasions where the ambition was matched wholeheartedly
Yeah.
by the capabilities of the filmmakers. They set out to make something so extreme and so like so unlike anything that had happened before,
Yeah.
and they did it. They 100% did it. And the argument can be made that they also pulled it off for Endgame, but I can't say it is as successful.
perfect,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there is definitely some strong highs. Some highs that reach the highs of Infinity War in Endgame, maybe even surpass it.
Yeah.
But I think there are no weak points in Infinity War. There are literally none, in my opinion. I think I can watch that thing and I just think it is as sharp as anything in this environment, this kind of genre filmmaking environment. So yeah, it's easily my favorite.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
There was an idea. Stark knows this. Called the Avengers Initiative. The idea was to bring together a group of remarkable people, see if they could become something more. See if they could work together when we needed them to to fight the battles that we never could. Phil Coulson died still believing in that idea. In heroes. Well, it's an old-fashioned notion.
Nick,
Tys.
we have been doing this for 100 episodes.
We have, Tyson.
How I will never know.
Well, sometimes it's hard. We've had some episodes where it has been a ball to talk about film, but sometimes it's been a little bit of a slog, but we've gotten through them.
We have. We've gotten through them, and we've tried to...
And
we hope that we've provided you with some entertainment.
We have.
For 100 episodes, we just hope that we don't get huge amounts of download numbers, but we get consistent amounts, and which means that we have fans that are dedicated. And
we do.
I think that's almost more exciting to us.
It is.
We just love that we know that there's people out there that will constantly tune in and always and even talk to us about it and say like, "Hey guys, when's the next episode coming?"
Exactly. Yeah. So we just like to take this moment to. I think let's thank some of these people.
So we want to just specifically give a shout out to the people that have taken the time to write a iTunes review.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start here. So to Jonah S47, Hot Rocks 89, Sam the Possum, Nick Keels, Seville Sabar, Mealsy, Lady Plum, R-Town 112, Stackers, AK Sully, The Stolfinator, and Luke Watsford. Thank you for taking the time to write an iTunes review. It's amazing how much just those words that you write help us to be seen in a huge marketplace.
Yeah.
So just taking the time to write some words and clicking those 5 stars means the world to us. So thank you to those people who have taken the time to write an iTunes review for us. We also have the people that have taken the time to write a Facebook
review, which is also Carl McNamara, Ashley Widener,
Ashley Weedner,
Emily Rose Carr, and Luke Watsford.
Luke Watsford, super fan. Now, this is also our opportunity to thank the people that have guest starred.
100%.
Now, this I'm going to hit the list up, and I hope we don't miss anybody because my memory is terrible.
We won't. That's all right. So first off the bat,
we need to shout out to Jemima Bucknell.
Yep. Ben Lindhart. Katie Weston. Yeah. Leon Schiller. Nicole Kiley. Yeah. Kyle Anderson. What was I going to say? Oh, Adam Stolfo, of course. From Real Chat Podcast. Andrew Downing, most recently featured on our 90s Ultimate 90s music playlist, whatever thing that you can find on Spotify. So good. But that's going to wrap us up. It's been our 100th episode. 100th. Oh, my God, Nick. I'd like to also thank one last person, which has also been my wife. Of course. Who has 100% been a supporter, and it is, it's hard to do a podcast sometimes, Tys. Life does get in the way. Well, you've got a baby and stuff, man. Exactly, as well. Yeah. So, and you've got your own other show, which we don't talk about much on this show. We should talk about it more. Yeah, we will. I'll do that next step. Okay. But yeah, so big shout out to my wife, Sam. Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks so much, babe. Yes, everyone, we've got some really wonderful people in our lives that have been so supportive of our show. We couldn't do it without you, and we want to thank you all for your kind words, your support, your constant encouragement. Massively. We couldn't do it without any of you. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you indeed. To everyone who listens. Thanks heaps. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. 100 episodes. Wow. Nick, this is an epic one. This is going to be huge. But next week, what are we doing next week? Oh, next week, Tyson, we are the best around. You better believe it, my man. We are the best, and we are going to prove that by watching the first Karate Kid. That's it. We talked about this earlier. There's been a lot of films that we said, no, we'll get to them eventually. Eventually is now. We have reached the point where we can no longer say, we'll get to that We're eventually. We're going to wait till we wet our whistle. Exactly. The whistle's wet, and we're going to watch all the classics. It's going to be classics upon classics, and we're starting with a movie that is very close to both of our hearts, and that is the Karate Kid from 1984.
We look forward to seeing you all then.
We'll
Nick,
see you next week. Tyson.
I'll see you, man.
See you, bud.
Bye.
Bye, man. Bye.